transfer Keyshawn Hall made the trip up to Rose Hill tonight for another bout of A-10 action. It's late season A-10 hoops on WFUV Sports. The Patriots and the Rams right now on 90.7 FM. Hello to you and welcome inside Rose Hill Gym. It's the second to last home game for these Fordham Rams, and the name on the docket tonight is none other than the George Mason Patriots. Alongside Kris Pursiainen, I'm Miles Grossman, and Kris, tonight the Fordham Rams coming off a huge win last time out over Duquesne. And now tonight, an opportunity to pick up back-to-back wins for the first time since mid-December.
Miles, it's certainly been a while since it's felt like they've had this opportunity, and you nailed it. December was that time of year when the Rams were stacking W's one on top of another. At this juncture of the season, a one-game win streak will have to do for Fordham at 5-9 in conference play. They've got George Mason coming in, and they're 7-7 in conference. A bit of a Jekyll and Hyde situation with this team when they go on the road. They out-rebound their opponents by 4.7 rebounds per game, Miles. But on the road, their opponents out-rebound them.
Yes, sir, Kris. Fordham looking to string together a couple wins, but it won't be easy against this type of team on the boards. About 5 minutes from tip here in the Bronx. Before we get underway, we got a quick word with Fordham men's basketball head coach Keith Urgo. Have a listen. Coach, thanks so much for the time. And last time out, the main theme has to be Rose Thrill is back. It's a theme we've talked about all year. It was in full effect last time, and it clearly made a difference. A 32-9 run in that second half. And after the game, you go over and embrace the student section. Just what were the emotions embracing the students, knowing how much of a difference they can make?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we saw it last year, what this building is capable of generating. The energy in the building was tremendous, and the student section was the best it's been all year. Very similar to what we had most of the Atlantic 10 season last year. And it makes a world of difference. And, we have to continue to build something really special here. It just doesn't mean just wins and losses. It means consistency from our team, but it also means consistency from the fan base as well, mainly the student body. And they came out, they showed out. Not only were they here, they were electric, and you could tell our guys were feeding off that. It was ruffling, the Duquesne bench and their players in the second half. It speeds people up, and the emotion of the game. The referees get involved as well, and we just fed off that energy, and we need that to try to continue these last two home games, especially tomorrow night, and obviously Cedar night we expect to be a big one too. But it definitely makes a difference.
Coach, 7 p.m. here at Rose Hill against George Mason. They've got almost a positive 5 rebounding margin on the season, but you guys last time out went a bit bigger in the starting lineup, including the freshman Jameer Tripp. What did you see from that bigger lineup, and what impression did it leave on you?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really necessarily start because it was a bigger lineup. We just started it because, the things that we value, those 5 guys were leading in our point system. So we went with that lineup, and they really played to their strengths, and it just happened to be a bigger lineup as well. But, for us, it's about the energy, it's about the toughness, it's about the grit, it's about the kind of how hard we're playing, and as a result, we can start to play together, which we started to do. So I was very pleased with the way we started both the first and the second half, and we have to continue that moving forward. We can't take a step backwards.
And the old guys, Kyle, Trell, Abdu, who've been around the program for a really long time, they kind of led the way last time out. And does it ever feel like a bit of a luxury when things get tough, you lose a couple straight, you have the veterans that you can sort of rely on a bit more when times get tough?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, obviously they've put in the work, and they've earned the right to have the success that they've had over the course of the 3 years they've been here. And they're not happy with the results of the past couple months, but they're only thinking about the positive, which is we still have 4 regular season games beginning with tomorrow night, and then we have the tournament, and these guys never waver on how good they think this team can be, and the goal was always to be the best team it can be by the end of the year, and they feel like that's still attainable. We took a major step with that last week. We have to take another step forward tomorrow. But they played the other night like they were desperate and like they only had a few more games in their career. And And that's what they have to continue to do here the next couple of weeks to finish strong.
And Coach, to talk about one of those veterans in particular, I know Kyle Rose was the star of the show and of the home crowd playing to it, but Antrell Charlton tied a season high in assists with 8. He led the team in assists per game last year, and even though he's always been this Swiss Army knife kind of player, it feels like he's a point guard when it boils down to it. Being able to lean on him was fruitful for the offense. How do you view Trell as a playmaker? How do you view him as a starter now that he's shown you the playmaking can be there when you need to tap that route?
Yeah, I mean, he's done it in the past. He's hit game winners on the road. He's hit game winners at home. And, you know, he's been a point guard most of his career from high school to junior college. He led his junior college to the Final Four in Hutch, which is one of the most difficult things you can possibly do. So he's been a winner his entire career, and he's done nothing but do that here. And, you know, he's got, I think now it's 48 to something like 16, 48 assists to 16 turnovers in the Atlantic 10. He's got great vision. He's got a great IQ. He's got great size. And, you know, it's a luxury being able to play him at multiple positions. And we just, you know, he just kind of lets it come to him. If he's open, he'll take the shot when he's needed. At the end of a shot clock, he can create his own because he's good at the mid-range. But for the most part, he's just looking to get everybody else involved, which is important.
And, Coach, before we let you go, George Mason, a first-year head coach, and Tony Skinn. Lots of transfers, lots of older transfers. That combination of a new head coach and transfers can always kind of create that question mark. When you saw that tape, what did you really see out of these Patriots?
Yeah, I mean, he's done a tremendous job. I mean, Tony's done a phenomenal job. Obviously, the big win last week against Dayton at home, I think it's the highest-ranked team they've beaten in their history. So the transfers that he brought in, they know their roles. That's what I've seen. They all know their roles, and they're playing to their roles. They play really hard. They're very athletic. They play fast. They play tough. And, you know, it's a tough place to play at Loyola Chicago, and they were in it. So the score didn't, indicate kind of how close the actual game was. And so we know what they're going to come in. They're going to come in desperate. They're very capable of putting up a lot of points. Keyshawn Hall's is good, if not better, than anybody in the league. So we have to do a great job limiting him. And, obviously they have a number of other pieces that are very effective. But we have to concentrate on what we can control. We have to be aggressive like we were the other night. We have to play harder than our opponent. We have to play tougher than our opponent. And we got to be able to do that without fouling, which hurt us a little bit in the first half the other night. So, we settled that down in the second half, and we got to play our guys the more minutes and get into a little bit more of a rhythm, and they were very effective as a result.
Coach, thanks so much for your time, and good luck.
Go Rams.
And welcome back courtside here at Rose Hill Gym. It's George Mason and Fordham. Let's take a quick look at those starting lineup. Their leading guard, Ronald Polite, is out with an ankle, so their 5 is as follows. Jared Billups, Darius Maddox in the backcourt, and the big guys down low, Keyshawn Hall at 17.3 points per game, followed up by Amari Kelly, the veteran UNC Wilmington transfer, the super efficient big, and wrapping up the freshman, Baraka Okoji. It's the George Mason Patriots in their road blacks and the Fordham Rams in their home grays. Fordham moving right to left. George Mason left to right. It's Abdou Simbila in the center circle here with the big guy, Amari Kelly.
Fordham running with that same 5 from last time out here at home versus Duquesne that got them their first home win in conference play.
So our ref gets us underway. Our first touch is in the right hand of Amari Kelly. And George Mason, the first possession of our evening, moving left to right in their road blacks. Here's the starting freshman guard, Okoji, at the top of the circle on the block half. Chest pass over to Hall. Hall, the left arc 3, strong off the heel. And Kyle Rose, the first rebound of the day for the Fordham Rams. Fordham moving right to left now. Here's Kyle Rose in the home gray. Stands back to the basket on the right arc. Draws 2 defenders and bounces it down low. Ramad Dean back to the basket. Rises from the right block and gets it to go. Off the window and down. Fordham on the board first, 2-0.
Yeah, tough physical bucket from Ramad Dean. There's that strength and athleticism, Miles, being put to good use.
Okoji will walk it up and find Kelly, his big man, at the top of the circle. Here's Kelly, top of the key. Finds Maddox. Maddox, top of the circle. He'll pop the 3. No good off the right side of the iron. And Abdou pulls down the rebound and immediately gets fouled. That's the first of the day on Keyshawn Hall, their leading scorer.
Yeah, Simbila drew a lot of fouls last time out. 2 of 3 from the free throw line, but a lot of them non-shooting. Just those physical pushes down low. Meanwhile, for Maddox, this is a guy for George Mason who takes 5.5 threes a game and is making 39% of them. That one was a miss, but expect him to keep firing.
1 minute in here, it's 2-0 Fordham Rams. Jameer Tripp stands on the left arc. Two-hand overhead pass, looking down low for Abdu, and Abdu can't handle it. Dribbles out of play on the offensive baseline. Last touch, Abdu Simbila. Going back George Mason's way, 18:53 first half. It's 2-0 Rams.
Elijah Gray on the bench with some advice for Simbila on catching the pass there. So Gray, even after the quick benching, still offering help.
Okoji, a burst of speed into the offensive set. He'll find Hall on the block F. Hall over left side finds Maddox. Maddox dumps it down low. Here's Amari Kelly, left side short corner. Looking to go to work on Abdu. Spins around left block, hesitates, rises, and he's blocked. Gets his own miss on the left block, hangs and gets it to go. 2-2, and the relentless piece there, Amari Kelly.
Kelly, 19 points last time out at Loyola Chicago. 3 of 5 from 3. It was a career high.
Some full court pressure here from Mason. It won't work out. Here's Kyle Rose, right arc transition. No good, strong on the three off the left side of the iron. And Amari Kelly rips it free here for Mason in the black. So Koji has it outside on the left arc. Back up top for his big guy in Kelly. Kelly back to the basket at the top of the circle. Hands off for the curling freshman Okoji. Okoji back to Kelly, left side short corner. Chest pass up top from Maddox. Maddox to Hall in the right corner, and he'll draw contact. This one's the first of the day on Jameer Tripp. Shirley on the floor. So the near sideline inbound, and we'll call it a baseline inbound for George Mason. It's 2-2, 17:51 first half.
Tripp, the freshman, getting the second start of his career. A little overzealous there on the pressure, but you like to see the effort. That's probably what has him in this starting lineup in the first place.
Absolutely right. It's those effort plays, right, Chris? In the offensive set, here's the George Mason Patriots. The high lob, high post. It's Amari Kelly. Kelly hands off for the freshman Okoji. Okoji angles his way to the right side perimeter. Crosses over and pulls from 15. Strong off the left side of the iron. Ramad Dean, the free board, and ahead to Jameer Tripp. It's 2-2. Jameer Tripp dribble drive the left side. Strong on the scoop there, and the rebound into the hands of Okoji, but he heaves it out of bounds near side, looking for Hall. Last touch Hall, and it's going right back the Rams' way. It's 2-2, 17:29 first half.
And here's Antrell Charlton, Miles, in charge of the offense. Once again, today tied a season-high 8 assists. Last time out, led the team in assists per game last year, so this is a role he's familiar with.
Absolutely, the veteran point guard at 6'5", at Jameer Tripp. Outside on the right arc, pushes off, and it's going right back George Mason's way. Fully extended the left arm, a clear push-off. With 17:22 first half, it's 2-2, and that's already 2 on Jameer Tripp.
So here's Will Richardson, the corresponding substitution coming in the game. Fordham losing some of their size, going a little smaller. It's a Richardson-Charlton backcourt. Reminds you a bit of last season.
Sure it does. With the freshman, 2 quick fouls, and Baraka Okoji, a burst of speed in the offensive set. He'll hand off for Kelly at the top of the circle. Kelly at 6'9", Abdu on him at the top of the key. He'll flip it back to the freshman guard, Okoji. Okoji dribble drive from the right arc, hesitates from the right block, and dishes it back outside for Kelly. Kelly looking to go to work, back to the basket. Center of the key, rises with the left hand, and he's no good. Well short on the air ball. An ugly fade there, and Will Richardson, the offensive rebound, the defensive rebound. He'll push ahead, and he'll nail it. Nothing but net from 15 on the high arcer. It's a 4-2 Fordham lead.
And Will Richardson tangled on the ground with Kelly after that. Gave him a mean mug as he stood up, letting him know he means business tonight, Miles.
Jared Billups flips it high once again for Kelly. Kelly looking down low for Hall, and Hall will draw contact from the right block. Some contact from both Antrell Charlton and Ramad Dean. This one's on the floor. It's 4-2. Fordham on top, 16:30 to play, and let's see who the guilty party is.
So I think the foul is going to be there on Richardson, and if you take a look at the last play, Miles, Charlton did a really nice job of sealing Hall out of the paint. This time tried to do it again. Hall had better positioning, so Richardson comes over to help, and he commits the harm.
So the ball will stay in the offensive set. It's a baseline inbound for the George Mason Patriots here on the road. They trail 4-2, 16:29 first half. Here's Hall, their leading scorer, got it on the right elbow. He'll dish it back up top for the freshman Okoji. Okoji dribble drive, he finds Maddox on the left side. Maddox dribble drive, and he loses control. Picked free by Will Richardson. Antrell Charlton comes down with it in the Fordham Rams. In the offensive set, here's Ramad Dean. Left corner three and nothing but net for Ramad Dean. 7-2, Fordham on top.
Miles, fantastic ball movement, being willing to make the extra pass, created that look for Dean, the 37% three-point shooter.
Here's Hall outside on the right arc dribble drive. He'll draw some contact. So Keyshawn Hall doing what he does best there, attacking the basket, but that'll stop the clock with 15:57 to play in our first half. It's a 7-2 Fordham start, and they are rocking and rolling once again here at home. You're listening to Fordham men's basketball on WFUV Sports.
Hey everyone, I'm Will Grant.
And I'm Kris Pursiainen.
And we're two of the hosts for WFUV's very own basketball podcast, Pick and Pod.
Tune in weekly for updates and our takes on the latest around the NBA, as well as exclusive insight from our very own Knicks and Nets beat reporters.
We'll have you covered on everything from all of the NBA's latest drama we know and love,
to debating all year long which team will get to lift that golden Larry O'Brien in June.
So don't miss a beat from the hardwood on WFUV's Pick and Pod.
And welcome back inside the comforts of Rose Hill Gym. Fordham off to a 7-2 lead over George Mason, 15:57 in the first half. Had the two quick fouls on Jameer Tripp, so the only substitute of the day, Will Richardson off the bench, but quickly 1 of 1 from the field, Chris.
Yeah, Miles, you can take a look at the stat sheet and figure out where the difference has been. It's a 5-point lead for Fordham. George Mason has 0 points on fast breaks. Fordham has 5. So there's that discrepancy right there. It's Fordham being quick to get out in transition, not seeming uncomfortable, even though this is a much different home environment than the one they last played in. Also on the stat sheet for the other side, Miles, Keyshawn Hall of George Mason has already drawn 3 fouls today. So that's really interesting to take a look at Fordham's defensive strategy against him. Have Charlton seal him out of the paint. Have a guard or forward come help defend. It was Ramad Dean and Will Richardson both whistled for fouls against him, playing the role of help defender. We'll see how Fordham approaches this because they're trying to be physical, but now you've got Medor on the court, a bit of a smaller lineup.
Absolutely right. Keyshawn Hall already drawn 3 fouls at 17.3 points per game. That's absolutely what he does best. Attacking the basket, forcing the issue, right? If he's not going to make a lay, he's going to draw some contact.
Yeah, he's averaging 18.3 points and 7.6 rebounds in conference play, Miles.
So back underway here from Rose Hill, 16 minutes flat first half. Here's Amari Kelly at the top of the circle, swings it out left side, Jared Billups. Billups back up top for Kelly. Kelly one dribble with the right hand, and he'll find Maddox. Maddox at the top of the circle, crosses left to right in on Will Richardson. Dribble drive the right side of the lane, and it's an offensive foul. Will Richardson stood his ground and is going back the Rams' way. 7-2 Fordham, 15:43 first half.
Richardson certainly not someone with a, defender's reputation, but there's another dab up from Coach Ergo. He got one of those last game, too, after a big defensive play. Ergo seems to be trying to get the most defensively out of his young combo guard.
So now the original backcourt is out there. Jaffe Medor and Will Richardson. Medor bounces high post for Ramad Dean. Dean hands off for the curling Kyle Rose. Rose the dribble, drive strong with the left-hand scoop, but Abdu, the offensive rebound, rises no good. Strong off the left side of the iron, and Okoji, the freshman, pushing left to right here for Mason in transition. Okoji rises, and he's no good short there. Abdu Simbila pulls it off the rim there. Almost defensive interference. But the Fordham Rams will have it. Here's Kyle Rose, top of the key. They lead 7-2, 15:09 first half. Kyle Rose angles his way left side perimeter, fakes the jumper, whips it over to Jaffe Medor, right corner, dribble drive, finds Richardson. Richardson, top of the key, 3 around and out there. And the rebound in the hands of Keyshawn Hall. Hall ahead. A little bit slow here, and he'll find Okoji on the block F. 14:48. Left in our first 20. Okoji, the freshman, angles his way to the right side perimeter, pulls it back between the legs on Kyle Rose. He'll reset the possession. 12 seconds to shoot. Here's Okoji, top of the circle now, looking to create some offense. 2 dribbles with the right hand, Kicks it out left side, left arc three, no good off the right side of the iron. It was Maddox that time, but Amari Kelly, the offensive rebound and the push off immediately. Going right back Fordham's way, and what a job they've done down low, drawing offensive fouls. It's 7-2 Fordham with the basketball, 14-27 first half.
Miles, we've seen the pendulum swing both ways for the Rams and the Patriots tonight. Sometimes Dean and Richardson getting called for the ticky-tack, help fouls, but also Fordham drawing some of those offensive calls. So now you see some size going into the game. It's Eli Gray, Josh Rivera, and even Antrell Charlton heading back out there, so a bigger Rams lineup to combat this physical George Mason team.
Lots of substitutions for Keith Thurgow. Here's Will Richardson at the top of the circle. Chest pass over to Jaffe Medor. Medor, top of the key, fakes the three, finds Josh Rivera. Rivera, dribble drive, he'll kick it out for Antrell Charlton. Charlton thought about it. He finds Elijah Gray now left side mid-post. Hand off for Antrell Charlton. Back to Elijah Gray, and Gray can't handle the pass. Bounces out of bounds on the baseline, going right back George Mason's way. 14:05 first half. It's a 7-2 Fordham lead, but they've done a great job defensively.
Yeah, it's been the calling card for them today, Miles, and that's what Ergo will tell you. This team's at their best when the defense is working away.
Morocco Okoji, the freshman, who's starting in for Polite today. A burst of speed in the offensive set. He'll find Kelly. Kelly, top of the circle, no good. Strong off the left side of the iron. But Maddox, the offensive board, will keep it right here. Here's the freshman Okoji. Okoji, chest pass. Looking down low now. It's Hall. Hall, the skip pass right side. Hall dribble drive the right side and the two-hand slam. Austin Ball right there. The freshman gets it going. And just like that, Mason within three. It's 7-4 Fordham.
Ball didn't score last time out in 15 minutes. That's one way to get in the box score.
13-22 first half. Here's Josh Rivera. Long two, no good. Off the back of the heel there, and Elijah Gray far too aggressive going for the rebound. He slapped Austin Ball. So it'll be the first foul of the day on Elijah Gray. That'll stop the clock with 13-15 here in our first 20. It's 7-4, the Fordham Rams on top. And Chris, you touched on it at the top of the broadcast that George Mason is so solid on the boards. Well, one of the big reasons Fordham won last time was their dominance on the glass, 41-28. Going to need a similar effort today.
100%, Miles. They need to seal George Mason out of the paint.
Amari Kelly dumps it down low for Hall. Hall rises, and he's no good. Well short from the left block on the lay. Elijah Gray the board. He'll find Josh Rivera on the Fordham Ram logo. 12:50 and ticking first half, 7-4. Fordham on top. Here's Elijah Gray, stuck right side short corner, looks to bounce it inside for Richardson. He can't handle the pass, but Maddox tapped it out of play. George Mason the last touch. It'll stay right here with the Fordham Rams and their home Grays. 12:43 first half. Fordham the lead in the ball, 7-4.
Fordham's at their best when Elijah Gray is playmaking out of the post. I know that might be a hot take, but when he's drawing defensive attention and playmaking, it's great. He just forced the issue there.
Rivera, 18-footer jumper, no good. In and out there, deeply in and out, right of the inbounds play. And a George Mason rebound. Here's Keyshawn Hall outside on the left perimeter. Swings it up top for Maddox. Maddox to Okoji. Dribble drive, right arcers. Okoji back to the basket now. Gets caught up and finds Ball. Austin Ball splits two defenders and dumps it down low. Here's Malik Henry, the backup big, and the turnaround left-hand finish from Malik Henry. Right off the bench into the box score, and Mason right back within one. It's 7-6 Fordham, 12:08 first half.
Henry, someone else who didn't score last time out. He got 3 quick fouls, only played 4 minutes at Loyola Chicago. Now you see Abdou Tsimbila at the scorer's table to bring in some rim protection, counter that size.
Absolutely right. It's a big Mason team. Abdou's going to get serious time today. Here's Charlton, chest pass up top. Josh Rivera, dribble drive, the turnaround, no good with the righty lay. Strong off the heel, another free board for Hall. Hall right in the hands of Will Richardson in transition, and the Fordham Rams pick it off. Now Will Richardson will slow things down, moving right to left. He'll find Antrell Charlton at the top of the circle. It's 7-6, Fordham Rams on top. Here's Jaffe Medor, left corner, dribble drive, hangs, and finds Josh Rivera. Rivera, extra pass, Charlton, left arc, three, no good. Strong there, and a free rebound in the hands of Malik Henry.
Charlton, perfect from downtown last time out, 3 of 3. This time,
here's Keyshawn Hall, right arc, dribble drive, no good, but the putback. Malik Henry. Off the glass and down, a quick 4 for him off the pine. It's an 8-7 Mason lead. 11 minutes flat here in our first half. Jaffe Medor, top of the circle, angles over and hands off for Will Richardson. Richardson dribble drive, kicks out. Josh Rivera, left arc three, no good. Short off the left side of the iron, and Amari Kelly, free rebound there. Ahead to Keyshawn Hall. Keyshawn Hall dribble drive, and it's swatted back by Josh Rivera, but an offensive rebound for Maddox. Maddox up top for Okoji on the block F. Mason now an 8-7 lead with the basketball. 10.5 on the first half clock. It's Okoji on the block F, finds Austin Ball. Austin Ball, the 6'7" freshman, dribble drive, the hook lay. No good, strong there, but Malik Henry will draw the contact under the basket. This one looks to be on Elijah Gray, but that'll lead us to another media timeout, Chris. A low-scoring affair, 8-7. George Mason on top with 10:21 to play in our first half. But with that, we'll send it back to our Rose Hill studios for a scoreboard update with Zach Cordova.
The one-on-one scoreboard.
The best time of the year is quickly approaching. March is almost here, which means Shamrock Shakes and NCAA Madness is just around the corner. On that note, let's check out what's happening around the college basketball scene this evening. Two familiar A10 foes, number 21 ranked Dayton hosts Davidson in an A10 showdown. Dayton has jumped out to a lead of 13-8 early in the first half. Number one team in the country is also in action tonight as number one Houston is at home against Cincinnati. The Cougars have come out of the gates hot as they currently lead 14-4 midway through the first half. And number 16 Kentucky Wildcats are on the road taking on Mississippi State. The Wildcats are trailing the Bearcats 14-10 with 12 to go in the first. And getting ready to tip off in just a moment, the New York Knicks are on the second game of back-to-back where they'll be taking on Zion Williamson and the New Orleans Pelicans at the Garden. We'll check in on that one in just a bit. And with the one-on-one scoreboard, I'm Zach Cordova.
To 7, George Mason leads here from Rose Hill Gym. 10:21 to play in our first half. I'm Miles Grossman alongside Kris Pursiainen. And Chris, already 9 names in the box score for the Fordham Rams. Keith Ergo turning to that second unit awfully early, but the issue we have to discuss is happening on the boards. I mean, early on they led at our previous media timeout 4-3 on the boards, and now you take a look at it at this media timeout. George Mason on top 15-7. In the last few minutes they've absolutely been dominant on the glass.
Yeah, Miles, the discrepancy comes on the offensive side of the ball for the Patriots. They've got 6-0 rebounds. Fordham just one, belonging to none other than Abdou Timbilla. Now Timbilla averages 3.7 defensive rebounds a game, 2.4 offensive rebounds a game, but that's not enough against the George Mason team that is just uber physical. And you take a look at Keyshawn Hall, right? You know the Rams' game plan was to shut him out. 0 of 4 from the field, 0 of 1 from downtown. He's drawn 3 fouls. They've been aggressive. But you saw Elijah Gray almost moss him on that last play, wrap around his neck. They're really being physical with Hall, trying to shut him down. That's all great and fine until you realize that Amari Kelly's stepping up. He's got 4 boards.
Great point, Chris. So 10:21 first half. It's George Mason basketball with an 8-7 lead here from Rose Hill. The big graduate, Amari Kelly, back to the basket, looking to go to work on Dean. He'll kick it up top for the freshman in Ball. Ball over to Okoji on the right arc. Okoji, some pressure from Kyle Rose. He'll have to find a man. He finds Jared Billups. Billups top of the key, chest pass over to Ball, and Ball, his back left heel, stepped on the left sideline and is going back Fordham's way. Another turnover forced here for the Fordham Rams. It's 8-7, Mason on top, 10:04 first half.
That time Ball with a rookie mistake, or a freshman mistake, I should say, but credit to Tony Skinn and Mason for finding Ball and Okoji, 2 freshmen contributing early.
And over the last couple games, Tony Skinn has expanded the lineup, and those are the 2 names who have been a big part of it. Here's Kyle Rose, pulls up from 15, the high arcer, no good off the left side of the iron, and a free rebound into the hands of Hall here. Woody Newton and Hall push up here. Now it's Okoji. Okoji the lob down low for Amari Kelly. Outside on the left block now, working his way in on Abdou Timbilla. Back to the basket. Rises from the left block. No good. Strong off the right side of the iron. Antrell Charlton the rebound ahead to Kyle Rose on the outlet. Kyle Rose on the right arc now. Crosses right to left and dumps it down low for Abdou. Abdou on the right block rises and he's no good. Well strong with the righty hook. A free board in the hands of Austin Ball. 9-10 tick in first half. It's an 8-7 Mason lead.
Simbila with the triple nickel last time out. He was upset there.
Okoji, the freshman, the lob, no good. Off the back of the window. Little floater action there. Didn't work out. It's 8-7 Mason. Here's Ramad Dean going the other way. Top of the circle. Angles his way over to the right arc. Hands off for Kyle Rose. Rose the three. No good. Well strong there for Kyle Rose. And another wide open free rebound for Okoji and the George Mason Patriots.
These teams are combining to shoot 1 of 11 from downtown right now, Miles. Not hot.
Okoji draws 2 defenders and dumps it down low for Kelly. Kelly the extra pass for Ball, and Ball can't handle it. Antrell Charlton tapped it out of play on the baseline, so it'll stay right here with Mason. A low-scoring affair, Chris. 8-7, Mason on top. 8:31 to play in our first 20.
Yeah, physical showdown, and you expect nothing else from the Patriots and the Rams. These are 2 physical ball clubs that come out and assert themselves by setting the tone early, getting on the glass, pushing each other out of the paint. Not three-point sniping teams.
So Woody Newton off the bench, hands off for another bench player, and Trey Wood. Wood finds Kelly from 15. The floater with the left hand is no good. Off the left side of the iron, and Kyle Rose pulls down the rebound himself and pushes ahead. He'll find Will Richardson outside on the right arc, and Will Richardson wants to reset. Richardson, top of the key, finds Medor outside on right side. Perimeter dribble drive, no good on the righty lay, but last touch down low, it's off Mason. So staying right here with the Fordham Rams. 8:04 first half, still 8-7 George Mason.
Miles, I like this backup backcourt of Richardson and Medor. They are tough and feisty, and Medor does a lot to go out there and attack, but they need to score.
And Fordham, if this is a correct stat, I'd be amazed.
It is.
8 minutes without a bucket, Chris. 8 minutes since the Fordham Rams have scored. Here's Kyle Rose. Right arc, he'll dish it up top for Will Richardson. Richardson dribble drive, Ramad Dean right corner, airballs the triple. Much too strong there. Abdu battling for it as he taps it out of play on the baseline. Last touch, Abdu Simbila, and the Fordham offensive woes continue.
Miles, Fordham went on a 5-0 scoring run to give them a 7-2 lead. That was when the game had 16 minutes and 12 seconds left in its first half of play. You take a look now at the score, it's 8-7. George Mason in the lead. Fordham with no points since then.
Both teams ugly shooting numbers. 4 of 19 for George Mason, 3 of 18 for the Fordham Rams, but Fordham scoreless in the last 8:21 of basketball time here from Rose Hill Gym, one of their longest scoring droughts in Atlantic 10 play. But with 7:51, it's an 8-7 George Mason lead. You're listening to Fordham men's basketball on WFUV Sports.
Hey everyone, Brian Raybacks here, one of your New York Yankees beat reporters for WFUV Sports. Along with Lou Orlando and Will Talent, we've got you covered for live game coverage, post-game analysis, season updates, and just about everything you need to know about the Bronx Bombers. You can follow me on Twitter at Brian Raybacks and subscribe to our YouTube channel for special Yankee feature reports all season long.
To 7, George Mason on top here from the Bronx. I'm Miles Grossman alongside Kris Pursiainen. And Chris, 7:51 to play in our first half, but the Fordham Rams scoreless in the last 8 minutes and 20 seconds. And after really holding their own right out the gate, George Mason has absolutely locked Fordham down.
Well, Miles, these teams have taken 18 and 19 shots each, and they have 3 and 4 makes each, respectively, with Fordham and George Mason in that order. We started out with Fordham, a 5-0 advantage in fast break points, and that's how they got out to that 7-2 lead. They have not scored since then. George Mason has found a niche of their own, and that's scoring in the paint. So points in the paint is now 8-2 in favor of the Patriots. Maybe that a look into how they are up now.
And last week, George Mason had quite the up and down week. It all started when they took down number 16 in the nation, Dayton. In fact, their biggest win in program history. They've never taken down a top 16 team ever before this season. But then last time out, a tough loss on the road at Loyola Chicago. But what really stood out about that win against Dayton was their physicality. Dayton is one of the biggest teams in the A-10, and George Mason, one of the only other teams in the A-10 that can hang with them in that department. Well, that's really paying dividends here against the Fordham Rams. Low post points are going to be the bread and butter all day for these Patriots.
Miles, that's the bread and butter of the A-10 as a league, as a conference. I think it's a ground and pound league, not a run and gun West Coast style. So, like I always say, if the A-10 were football, there would be no need for quarterbacks. Just RPO with 2 running backs every time. That's how this league is.
Here's Trey Wood to walk it off. He finds Jared Billups. Billups outside will hand off back to Wood. Wood on the block. F draws 2 defenders. Kyle Rose in on the pressure, and let's see. It's the jump ball forced and the possession arrow going back Fordham's way. 8-7. George Mason still on top. 7:33 first half, but Fordham picks up another stop.
And Keith Ergo in his blue suit courtside is beat red right now, screaming in support of his guys. Another dap for Will Richardson's defensive efforts. He loves getting this kind of energy out of this team.
8-7 Mason. Here's Jaffe Medor. Burst of speed on the right arc. He'll pull it back now. Medor, couple dribbles with the left hand, pulls from 18, and he's pure. Money right there for Jaffe Medor, and Fordham back on top 9-8.
Yeah, Medor needed that one, Miles. 1 point last time out, and I'll tell you, he didn't have any thus far today.
Trey Wood now, the backup guard, stands on the block F, getting harassed by Kyle Rose, and Trey Wood just tosses it out of bounds. Kyle Rose forces another turnover, and Fordham, the possession was 7:03 first half and a 9-8 lead now.
Yeah, Trey Wood, 3 points, 1 of 5 from the field, and 0 of 3 from downtown at Loyola Chicago. It was a tough outing for him out there, and now just 2 minutes of play in this one, already a turnover. Hopefully not a similar spell being cast.
7 minutes flat first half. Here's Jaffe Medor. Fakes it from the left arc, finds Ramad Dean and gets it back now. Medor, top of the circle, waves off the Ramad Dean screen, pulls it from NBA range, and he's nothing but net. Ramad Dean, a beautiful play and a beautiful shot there for Jaffe Medor. A 12-8 lead now for Fordham.
Look at Rose picking up 94 feet, harassing in the backcourt. He forced the turnover last time, the jump ball the play before.
6.5 in our first half. It's 12-8. Fordham on top. Here's Okoji, the freshman. Stands on the right arc once again. Some pressure from Kyle Rose. Okoji caught up, but he finds his man now in Woody Newton. Newton on the block F, spins around on Will Richardson and is poked free. Will Richardson, loose ball here, and it's heaved into the backcourt as the shot clock expires. And the Fordham defensive pressure ratcheting up here in the first half. It's 12-8 Rams, and Ergo is loving every bit of it.
Kyle Rose just got up off the ground 10 seconds ago. What a defensive stand for Fordham. The 5 guys on the floor, Medor, Richardson, Simbilla, Dean, and Rose. The physical play of Dean and Simbilla, the on-ball attention that Rose and Richardson are giving, and then the offensive punch Medor gives you. This is a 5-man unit right now for these Rams.
And a 5-0 run for the Fordham Rams. Here's Jaffe Medor, bounces it off the foot of a defender and gets it back. Kicks right arc, Kyle Rose the 3, no good, short there. Woody Newton taps the board to himself. It's Mason basketball. Fordham on top, 12-8 now, 5:51 first half. Here's Maddox. Maddox on the right perimeter finds Okoji. Okoji dribble drive, and the floater falls with the right hand. Okoji, the freshman, brings Mason back within 2. It's 12-10, Fordham, 5:38 first half.
Miles, I want to draw attention to something. George Mason is 11th in the A-10 in turnovers per game. They've already got 8 here in this first half.
That Fordham pressure wreaking havoc. Here's Will Richardson. Dribble drive left side of the lane. He'll float it up top for Jaffe Medor. Medor, 2 dribbles with the left hand, 7 seconds to shoot. Pulls back the left arc, 3, no good. Strong off the right side of the iron. And Okoji rebound in transition ahead to Woody Newton, and Newton off the glass with the right hand. All knotted up at 12 apiece now, 5:05 first half.
Newton, the transfer from Oklahoma State, about 4 points a game there. Now a bigger part of the rotation at George Mason.
Here's Richardson. Outside left perimeter, dribbles in, pulls up from the left elbow. No good from 15. Okoji, another rebound. Ahead to Keyshawn Hall, their leading scorer. He's been silent. He'll find Maddox. Right arc three, well short. Off the right side of the iron and out of bounds. Last touch will be Maddox. It's 12-12. 4:43 first half. Fordham picks up another stop, and that defense, unbelievable in our first 20 minutes.
Yeah, fantastic physicality from the Rams. They are doing everything they can to stop George Mason's passes from being easy, their shots from being easy, their rebounds from being easy. It's a stark tone change from the start of the game where George Mason was the far more physical ball club.
Medor burst to speed ahead. He'll hand off for the curling Antrell Charlton. Back to Medor. Medor splits two defenders on the A10, rises with the right hand, and he's blocked back by Hall. Gets his own miss, finds Richardson, and Richardson, well short, airballs the right side three, and Maddox the rebound. In transition, ahead to Woody Newton in the two-hand flush. Mason back on top, 14-12 now, 4:16 to play in our first half, and that's a big bucket.
Yeah, that's a nice little punch from first-year head coach Tony Skins, guys. Fordham needs to slow it down.
Antrell Charlton bounces high post for Will Richardson. Richardson bounces down low now for Josh Rivera. Rivera outside on the left block, spins around, heart of the paint, no good. On the righty turnaround, and Maddox rips free the Mason rebound. 3:51 first half. Here's Woody Newton. Transition triple, no good. Off the front of the iron, and Antrell Charlton quickly snatches down the rebound.
Being instructed to slow it down by Coach Yergo Miles. That's what they need to do. 3.5 minutes to go in this first half. Just go into halftime up a couple buckets.
14-12, Mason on top in this low-scoring affair. 3:30 here in our first 20. It's Antrell Charlton at the top of the circle now. 10 seconds to shoot. 8 seconds to shoot as he crosses left to right at the top of the circle. Pulls from 15 on Hall, no good. Off the right side of the iron, and the rebound in the hands of the backup Woody Newton. Newton ahead to the freshman Okoji, and Mason will now walk it up 14-12. They lead. Here's Kelly at the top of the circle. Amari Kelly hands off for Okoji on the block F and flips it to Hall, right side perimeter. Two-hand overhead pass over to Woody Newton. Newton dribble drive, and he draws contact down low. Yoli Akawovo looked to draw the charge, but he was a tad late on the rotation. So two George Mason free throws coming on the other side of our break. It's 14-12, Patriots on top. 2:56 to play in our first half, but with that, we'll send it back to our Rose Hill studios for another scoreboard update with Zach Cordova.
The one-on-one scoreboard.
Peeking back into the action in Houston, the Cougars have opened up the lead to 8 on Cincinnati. They lead 19-11 late in the first half. Smooth flying so far for the Dayton Flyers as they currently lead at 31-16 with 5 to go in the second half. Kentucky and Mississippi State are battling with 5 minutes to go in the first half. The Bulldogs so far lead at 28-22. Possible upset watch on that one. And the New York Knicks still haven't kicked off yet. A little bit of a late start for them, so we'll get back to that score later. But in a big-time Eastern Conference showdown, the Embiid-less 76ers are down in Boston, taking on Jason Tatum and the Celtics. That game also has not yet kicked off, but we'll update you as soon as that one gets going. And with the one-on-one scoreboard, I'm Zach Cordova.
And welcome back inside Rose Hill Gym. 2:56 to play in our first half, but based on the score, you would not believe that. It's 14-12, George Mason on top. At one point, Fordham did not score for 8:20 of this first half, and now they find themselves in another 4-minute scoreless drought. George Mason hasn't done much better on the offensive end, just a defensive slugfest, Chris.
Miles, these teams are combining right now to shoot 12 of 51 from the floor and 2 of 17 from beyond the arc.
Special numbers.
Let me tell you something else. Those two makes are both from the Fordham Rams, so they're 2 of 11. That's 18%. George Mason, 0 of 6. Not much better. Not better at all. You take a look at the foul situation. Only 3 called on George Mason, 7 on Fordham. So you would think even if there's some home cooking here, it's not showing on the stat sheet because I'm not seeing it. So Mason of 14-12 has got a chance now to be a little physical.
And Kris, during the break, I touched on this has to be the fastest moving first half we've ever called together, and I'll tell you exactly why. We're about to watch our first 2 free throws of the game. Neither side has walked up to the charity stripe, but here's Woody Newton, the senior forward. The Oklahoma State transfer is good on the first of 2, making a 15-12 Mason lead.
Yeah, Newton, 58% shooter on the campaign, the number 126 recruit out of high school, according to Rivals. They had him as the number 26 power forward. He went to Mount Zion Prep. If you've ever heard of it, big basketball high school.
So Woody Newton, 2 of 2 from the charity stripe there, making a 16-12 Patriot lead here. 2:55 to play in our first 20. Medor, the left-hand dribble knee high. He'll find Antrell Charlton outside on the left arc. Low post entry for Abdu. Abdu the turnaround with the right side and well short off the front of the iron. And Amari Kelly, a free board. Ahead to Okoji, the freshman stands on the right perimeter, draws 2 defenders now. Splits them and finds Kelly. Kelly top of the circle. Extra pass over to Maddox. Maddox probes at the top of the circle, crosses left to right and finds Okoji. And Okoji steps out of bounds on the right sideline with his right foot. Another freshman error there. First ball stepped out of bounds on the left side, and then on the near side, another freshman Okoji steps out of bounds, but it's going back Fordham's way with 2:26 first half. It's 16-12, Mason on top. But Fordham still hasn't scored in well over 4 minutes.
Yeah, you're looking at Kyle Rose to go get you a bucket. He's 0 of 5 from the floor. He was the star last time out, Miles. 23 points and 3 assists, creating lots of offense.
Medor, transition triple, no good. Didn't graze anything, but a putback slam for Josh Rivera. Under the basket, right place, right time, and a 2-hand finish. Fordham back within 2, 16-14 Mason.
Those are the first second chance points of the game for Fordham. George Mason already has 6, so that's why this score is so close, Miles, and so low.
Okoji hands off for Hall. Hall outside right arc, dribble drive the right side, and Abdu swats it right back, and he comes up with the board. Ahead to Jaffe Medor now in transition. Medor to Rose, fakes the 3 at the top of the key, steps back on the second time, and he's in and out, no good there. But Abdu taps back the offensive rebound to Antrell Charlton. Charlton at the top of the key. The lob down low for Abdu Simbila. Simbila rises and he can't handle it, but Kyle Rose, another offensive rebound. Here's Josh Rivera, dribble drive, and he draws the block down low. A hectic possession there, but the Fordham Rams stick with it. Couple offensive boards, and now Josh Rivera headed to the free throw line.
Yeah, much needed offensive rebound for Fordham. Abdu Simbila's second of the game. A much needed stop for Fordham. Abdu Simbila's second block of the game. So it's Josh Rivera at the line right now because he was smart enough to be physical and aggressive when he saw a loose ball. But I'll tell you who set this one up. It was Simbila with the stop and with the physical rebound.
So Josh Rivera set to attempt his first 2 free throws of the day. Into the box score with 2 points and a rebound so far. It's 16-14. Mason on top with 1:26 to play in our first half. Here's Josh Rivera. The 45%er is good on the first of 2. And Rivera, I got to give him some credit. He's steadily improved from the free throw line over the last 2-3 games.
Yeah, well, he's shooting 14 of 33 from the free throw line in Atlantic 10 play, which is not stellar. It brings him up to 46% on the season. Just, bringing him up to there shows you where you started from was not great, but all you can do is improve.
Hey, there was a point where this guy was a 34%er, if I'm not mistaken. So he has taken a couple strides, and a 2 of 2 trip there for Josh Rivera. It's 16-16 now, 1:21 first half. Here's Okoji back to the basket on the block F. He'll find his big guy in Amari Kelly. Back to Okoji, dribble drive, kicks it out, right corner, 3, no good. Well strong there for Woody Newton. The air ball and the rebound for the Fordham Rams. Here's Rose, dribble drive from the left arc, gets caught up now, turns around and finds Rivera. Rivera will drive and gets the righty floater to fall. Hangs and hits beautifully. It's an 18-16 Fordham advantage.
Yeah, great save by Kyle Rose there as he applies defensive pressure. Now, this guy's all over the place on both ends of the court. Josh Rivera, again, opportunistic with his athleticism, turning it into points.
40 seconds to play in our first half. Here's Maddox, right arc, pulls back the triple, and nothing but net over Josh Rivera. He held the finish, and a 19-18 Mason lead.
Maddox can really shoot. He's 1 of 4 today now, but again, making 39% of his 5.5 a game.
So with the shot clock off, Jaffe Medor will waltz into the offensive half. Keith Urgo wants the timeout. It's 19-18. Mason on top with 23.1 seconds to play. And Kris, we've seen this quite a few times. The Fordham Rams will head to the huddle and look to finish off the half with a bucket.
Yeah, the use it or lose it special from Keith Urgo. You know he loves this one. You might as well take it on your way out of the door. You go ahead to halftime and get a 15-minute break. Well, how about 1 minute before that and talk things over as a team? I think the underrated aspect is they got a second to breathe here, too. Halftime can be less about physical recovery and more about game planning when you're a little better rested going into that break. I do got to tell you something, though. I know Coach Urgo is expecting the hardest 23.1 seconds these guys have ever played in their lives, and I think it starts with them dribbling out the clock. You'll see them bring it down to about 10 or 11, and that's when I presume Medor will begin the offensive set.
And Kris, an interesting theme has developed. Kyle Rose, 0 of 6 from the field, 0 of 4 from range. This is the focal point of the Fordham Rams offense throughout Atlantic 10 play. And as you mentioned, 23 points last time out versus Duquesne. 23 points that lit up the home crowd. Well, he doesn't really look like himself in this first 20.
I'll tell you something, though. He looks like himself on the other end of the court, hounding and
hey,
harassing.
That's never going to go anywhere. That's a fact.
Hounding and harassing Baraka Okoji, and making sure that the freshman's job as a guard for this team, a starting guard tonight,
yes,
is not easy.
That's a great point. Kyle Rose, the preseason all-defensive selection here in the A-10. That part of his game in year 5 with the Fordham Rams is not going anywhere. It's just sometimes the offense is there, sometimes it isn't. And early in his Fordham career, he was really only known for his defense, but throughout Atlantic 10 play, he's become a true offensive weapon. It just hasn't been there this evening. And Kris, I got a fun stat for you. The Fordham Rams undefeated all time when Kyle Rose scores 18 or more points. And 0-9 in Atlantic 10 play this year when he does not reach that key 18-point threshold. Well, he's scoreless here with 22 seconds to play in the half. Kyle Rose will inbound to Jaffe Medor. 17 seconds to play in the first 20. A little bit of a reach there, far too aggressive there. And checking in the ball game.
Cam Johnson, junior guard from Charles City, Virginia. He's out there right now, 5'11", 175 pounds. You know he's getting the minutes because they're missing a starter, Ronald Polite III.
And he just checks in for the very first time, not usually a rotational player, here in the Atlantic 10. Jaffe Medor catches and he's immediately fouled. And this is amazing. It does seem like Johnson is being used as an intentional foul weapon as a guy who's outside of the rotation, Kris.
Yeah, now it's Darius Maddox going to the scorer's table, and Tony Skinn says, no, don't. But the referee saw Maddox in time, so they have to make the substitution.
So Johnson, who just committed 2 intentional fouls, will now check off. 12 seconds to play in our first half. It's 19-18, Mason on top. Fordham with the basketball. 5 seconds in the half. Here's Antrell Charlton. Lobs it down low for Rivera. Rivera spins at the buzzer and no good on the fadeaway. That's how the first half comes to an end. Mason able to hold on to their 1-point advantage. It's 19-18. And Kris, neither party able to reach 20 points.
Well, Miles, take a look in the rebounding column. George Mason with 26, Fordham with 18. That looks like what you'd see halfway through the second half. So many misses early in this one that it's been easy for Mason to rack up those rebounds. Let's take a look. They're 17-3 this season when they out-rebound their opponent. They're 1-6 when they don't. So the George Mason losses really seem to correspond with being out-rebounded. Fordham has not done that. But this is a different game than ever. You're talking about Rose with the 18-point threshold. Throw it out the window, Miles. The score is 19-18 in a Division I men's basketball
Something
game.
You don't see every day.
In the year of our Lord 2024, where a three-point line exists, and it's halftime. This is a defensive showdown. We know these two teams can score. They just don't score a lot, and you're seeing both of them play their calling card, the defensive, hounding, harassing effort.
So both squads very slow offensively. 2 of 13 from range are the Fordham Rams. 1 of 8 from range are the George Mason Patriots. But we'll take a quick break courtside here from Rose Hill. Halftime in a very low-scoring affair. But with that, we'll send it back to our Rose Hill studios for the halftime show with Owen, Kelty, and Zach Cordova.
The one-on-one halftime report.
Welcome into the Rose Hill studios for the one-on-one halftime report. I'm Owen Kelty. Joining me is Zach Cordova. George Mason leads this one 19-18. And I myself am shocked at a score of 19-18 here in the first half. As Kris was just saying, in a year where there's a three-point line and it is a first half of a college basketball game, the score of 19-18 is pretty shocking, and it's been a product of some pretty poor shooting and some really good defense. So overall, it's been a pretty good first half for Fordham, not in the shooting department, but for defense. And coming into this game, they were a bit of an underdog. George Mason coming in at 18-9, Fordham coming in at 11-16, coming off a big win on Friday night, but still a bit of an underdog here. And to be only down one at half, I'd say, as poor as you've shot, that's a good half.
I mean, it's a good half. I mean, I just think it's George Mason not really taking care of the ball either. I mean, 10 turnovers to start in the first half. I mean, neither teams are really shooting the ball well. Fordham, it just looks like a classic Fordham game where they're throwing up shots from the threes or throwing up shots from the three-point line, and tonight they're just not going. I think there might be a breeze in Rose Hill Gym tonight.
Playing outside tonight?
Something's
they
going
open
on.
The windows up in there?
Both teams just can't get anything to fall. Fordham 7 for 33 in the first half, and George Mason 8 for 27. I mean,
those are some pretty shocking shooting lines for a basketball game. I mean, 7 of 33, 21% of the field from the field. And to still be, though, within one, I think that's pretty big. And you talked about the turnovers that they've been causing. They've done that. They've played good defense all year, and that's what's held them into a lot of these games, always causing double-digit turnovers. But I think what you said, the consistency of being inconsistent from three has what we've seen from Fordham all year. 2 of 13 in this first half, and it hasn't been working. It hasn't worked in a lot of games so far this season, but they continue to go back and just keep kind of hoisting up these threes. And they've gotten kind of lucky today. George Mason, like you said, 8 of 27, 29% from the field, and 1 of 8 from three, 12% from three. That's just not going to get it done for either team, but staying within one. They haven't been great on the board, so I think you could look at this as a sort of successful first half for the Rams.
I mean, defensively, you got to look at Abdou Simbila. I mean, he's got 2 blocks already in the first half. He had coming off a 6-block game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just a monster in the paint all season. I couldn't imagine wanting to take a layup in there with him in there. I mean, he's protected the rim at a level that I haven't really seen here at Rose Hill in my time being here. I mean, I guess I haven't been here that long, but the man has been a superpower down there in terms of blocking everything that comes down there. But I mean, Fordham's got to score if they want to win this game. I mean, the guy I think that's really got to get going is Kyle Rose. Our broadcasters were just talking about, Miles said, Fordham is 0-9 when Kyle Rose scores less than 18 points in A10 play. And conversely, they're 5-0 when he scores over 18. And right now, he hasn't scored yet. 0 for 6 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3. I mean, it just seems like a night where everybody's kind of cold.
And so far this season, he's been having a really good year. He's having a good game defensively, as you can say. I mean, I guess you could say the whole team's having a good game defensively when you only give up 19 points. But Fordham's leading scorer has 6 points. It's Josh Rivera on 2 of 8 from the field. He is 2 of 2 from the free throw line, which have been struggles for him so far this year. So get a little applaud there for going 2 for 2 from the line. But such a low-scoring game. I mean, don't you think it's kind of shocking that you get 19-18 in a D1 basketball game?
I mean, you mentioned the 2 for 2 from the line. That's all Fordham shot in terms of free throws. And same thing with George Mason. They've also only taken 2 free throws. I mean, we're just not seeing either team get to the line. And that was kind of a quick first half. It's not even 8 o'clock yet. And we're already maybe halfway through this halftime break. I mean, this is one of the fastest Fordham games I think I've been a part of this season.
I know. It's super surprising. It feels like these games have been long, but super fast first half. The game's kind of been going on. Not a ton of fouling. Only 2 free throws for each team. Both teams getting at it on the offensive glass with 6 each. But I think the sign of this game that's been good so far for Fordham is that they've led most of this game. They led for, I believe, they led for 16 total minutes in this first half. But to go into the half trailing, that has to be a little bit demoralizing.
But you're also within 1 point, and I think the quick answer is you just got to score. And the fact that they can hold George Mason to 19 points in the first half and shoot as poorly as they have does bring a little bit of hope for me in the second half. They just got to get to fall, and that's really the biggest thing, especially from maybe take the ball inside before just throwing up the threes right away. I mean, I'm not sure what exactly needs to change, but the shooting hasn't been there. But I mean, if they could get it to fall in the second half, they're in a good spot,
especially against a team that is sort of not much better than you, but has had a much better season than you. To be within one and then have as poor of a shooting night as you're having is going to be huge. But like you said, you got to get back in the paint. Those shots are going to be easier to put down, and the threes are not working. I know you haven't shot particularly well from inside the paint, but that's really where you have to look if you're going to keep this game close, because it doesn't feel like George Mason, from what we've seen from Fordham so far this year, they've struggled in the second half to keep that consistency on the defensive end where they've had better defensive first halves. So George Mason, they might get going, and you're going to have to stay with them. So besides Kyle Rose, you mentioned him before, who do you want to see the offense kind of go through to get going in the second half?
I mean, I definitely want to see Will Richardson kind of get going. I also want to see Jaffe Medora get going. I think those are two guys that have really brought the spark. In this year, and Will Richardson last year has always brought that kind of spark to the scoring. And you get those guys going, I think they have a really good shot of pulling this one out.
And Fordham using a 10-man rotation. They're really relying heavy on that bench today, using all those players that they can get. But for me, I think we're going to have to look at Jameer Tripp. Only 3 minutes there in that first half. He's had some good scoring outputs this season, and the rotation, kind of the guys that you've been playing so far in this first half, it hasn't necessarily been working. The offense hasn't gotten much flow going on, so maybe going to one of those guys. He's only played 3 minutes. Giving him some more minutes in that second half might help get him going, get him more points, and keep them in this game.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the 10 turnovers I look at, I think you just got to get on the break, too, especially when you get those steals. Fordham's got 3 of those right now. I mean, just getting on the break and just trying to get easy layups in transition, I think, is a big thing, too. But just taking the right shot right now for Fordham, it's got to be the main focus right now.
And you're bringing up the 10 turnovers. Fordham has 10 points off of those turnovers. 10 of their 18 points so far have come off of turnovers. So the offense has really struggled to get into their half-court sets and kind of get the ball going in. That's when we were talking about. You really need to focus on getting more in the paint, because those where your easier shots are going to fall. I mean, when you look at their 5 of 20 from inside the arc, but still that's better than the 2 of 13 that you're shooting from outside the arc. And threes, sometimes it's going to work. Sometimes you can keep chucking threes up, and sometimes they're going to fall, and that'll keep you in this game. But as we continue to move on in this game, it doesn't feel like that's going to work, especially how the season's gone for Fordham already.
Yeah, as one of our broadcasters, Colin Loughran, said earlier this season, Fordham's a team that lives and dies by the 3, and that's really been their whole season. And when they hit, they're one of the best teams, I think. Maybe one of the best teams in the A10. I mean, they get hot from the 3-point line, and nobody can stop them. But then that's not every night. It feels like it's rare now. And then they have nights like this where they've shot 13 and made 2. I mean, and the scoring's not there. They're just lucky that George Mason just can't shoot tonight either.
And do you think, I don't know, this might be a little of a conspiracy theory. Not a conspiracy theory, but Friday night, Rose Thrill was back. It was packed.
Rose Thrill hangover.
Yeah. There was so many fans in the stands. The game was loud. They played one of their best games of the year, best shooting games of the year. And now coming out here, not as packed tonight. It's a Tuesday night. Midterm season's going around. You think the team's got a little, coming off the high energy at last game, it's a little shocked going on out there?
Hey, Rose Thrill, I mean, midterms are here, but get some of that stress out and come scream at the game. I think that's what we need. Fordham just seems to play better when that like home atmosphere is really there. And tonight, I mean, it's a little bit quiet, but I don't know if that's all of the problems. I think it's always a shooter's dream to have a quiet and calm gym, but I mean, nobody can shoot tonight.
No, yeah, clearly the empty gym is not working for either team tonight, but that is going to do it for us here in the Rose Hill Studios. After a quick break, we'll get you guys back to Miles and Kris. Enjoy the second half.
What's going on, guys? I'm Jack Warner, one of your New York Rangers beat reporters for the 2023-2024 NHL season. I'll have you covered all season long as New York looks to bring a Stanley Cup back to the Big Apple in Peter Laviolette's first season as head coach. Follow me on Twitter at Jack_Warner23 for live game updates, post-game media availability, and all things Blue Shirts.
And welcome back courtside here at Rose Hill Gym. Just a few moments from getting underway for second half action between the George Mason Patriots and your Fordham Rams. George Mason leads in a very low-scoring affair, 19-18. I'm Miles Grossman alongside Kris Pursiainen. Kris, last time out, these Fordham Rams coming off a huge win, 79-67. And as they touched on in the halftime show, the crowd that was here on Friday is simply not here tonight. But nevertheless, the Fordham Rams are going to need to tap into that same energy. It was the old guys last time. In this second half, once again, I'm looking at the old guys. Kyle, Trell, Abdu, the guys who have seen what it means to play Fordham basketball for 4 or 5 years are the names I'm looking for in the final 20.
Well, Miles, these two teams are a combined 15 of 60 from the floor in the first half. You're going to need Antrell Charlton setting up his teammates for easy buckets if the Rams offense is going to get going. Also, these teams are a combined 3 of 21 from downtown. That's where a sharpshooter like Kyle Rose comes into play. 4 total free throws attempted by these two teams at halftime. There's Abdu Tsambilla. He needs to draw fouls like he did last time against Duquesne, be physical down low, and that netted him 10 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 blocks last time out. Here at the half, he has 5 rebounds and 2 blocks. So no scoring, no passing, nothing like that, but he is getting takes off in the paint, just dominating down there. Now, one more number for you. Both teams both have 6 offensive rebounds. So for all of the rebounding dominance that George Mason has put on tape thus far this season, they're playing to their trend of going on the road and not being such a physical rebounding force. Yes, they have a couple more rebounds than Fordham, 26-19 at the halftime mark, but Elijah Gray, Jameer Tripp stay out of foul trouble. Fordham can keep putting those bigger lineups out there and combat their physicality. That's it from me, Miles, on my halftime stat.
10 names into the box score for the Fordham Rams. Pretty amazing. But really the key has been their ability to keep Mason off of the free throw line. Now, Fordham, one of the themes all year has been their inability to get to the free throw line. When you look at their Ken Pom numbers, they have a genuine inability to attack the cup and draw contact. And usually it's a stark difference compared to their opponent's numbers. But today, they've held Mason to the exact same issue that they are very comfortable with. Both teams have only attempted 2 free throws at the break. The Fordham Rams seem to have improved when it comes to defensive discipline, right? Playing defense without fouling. It's going to be hard to keep Keyshawn Hall and his teammates off the free throw line in a similar fashion the way they did in the first half. But, Kris, that's exactly what it's going to take here against a tough physical team that knows how to attack the basket.
Yeah, Miles, Fordham commits about 20 fouls a game. It's an inexperienced, physical team, but not necessarily a well-oiled one just yet. And so, because of that discrepancy in the foul department, you look tonight and it almost makes a big difference that Fordham's got 7 fouls. That puts them on track for 14. Obviously, you're not sitting here going, yippee, the Rams only committed 7 first half fouls, but when you average 10 per half, it's a different story. That's a successful half for Fordham. We'll see if they can continue that energy here as you hear the horn to introduce and welcome in our second half of play.
So all set to get underway in half number 2. George Mason leads Fordham 19-18 after a low-scoring first 20 minutes. Here's Okoji, the freshman. He'll find Amari Kelly at the top of the circle. Amari Kelly, the big guy, looks to dish it outside, and nobody home. Okoji reaching for it, but it's out of bounds on the near sideline. Nobody touched it for Fordham, and it's going back the Rams' way. 19-18 Mason. Fordham gets a turnover forced right out the break. Here's Antrell Charlton on the right side perimeter, back to the basket on Okoji, dumps it down low for Jameer Tripp. Tripp back to the basket on the right block, hesitates, rises, and he's no good. Well short there, but Ramad Dean able to pull down the offensive board. He'll pull it, right arc, no good. On the right arc, 3 off the heel, strong out of Ramad Dean, and Okoji will now push right to left here for Mason in the blacks. Dribble handoff for Jared Billups at the top of the key. Chest pass back to Okoji. Dribble drive left arc for Okoji. Draws 2 defenders and kicks it back out for Billups. Jared Billups on the right arc. He'll find Maddox now. Extra pass down low for Hall. Hall left corner. 3 around and down right there. And Mason lands the first punch in the second half. It's 22-18 Patriots.
Hall just about a 35% three-point shooter this season. You can't leave him open, but you don't want him taking a bunch.
And Maddox pokes it free out of the hands of Jameer Tripp. Maddox loose in the backcourt, kisses it off the glass, and a 24-18 George Mason lead now. A quick 5-0 burst, 90 seconds in to our second half.
Maddox averages a steal every other game. There's one there. Big play.
18:26 to play in regulation. Here's Jameer Tripp. Right side mid-post. He'll dish it out back up top for Ramad Dean. Dean handoff for Charlton. Charlton back to Rose. Outside on the left arc. Here's Kyle Rose. Draws 2 defenders. Dribble drive. He's caught up on the left block. He'll kick it out. Charlton, top of the key. 3 and beautiful right there. Kyle Rose draws 2, realizes, and Fordham back within 3.
I said you'd need Charlton's playmaking and Rose's three-point shooting in this second half. How about a role reversal there? Rose to Charlton for 3.
24-21, Mason on top with the basketball. Here's Keyshawn Hall, stuck in the right corner, draws 2 defenders, and he gets fouled up top. Kyle Rose and Jameer Tripp applied the pressure, and Rose will be the guilty party. So that'll stop the clock. 17:46 in the first half. It's 24-21. George Mason, a narrow lead with the ball.
Yeah, an unnecessary foul for Fordham, something to note. Just 20 seconds left on that shot clock. So Mason's got to get into a set quick here. They're already past half court.
Jared Billups, the trigger man. He'll flip it in. Tipped away by Jameer Tripp, but Maddox recovers. Maddox back to Billups. He'll get it back. Here's Keyshawn Hall now outside on the left arc. Dribble drive, hangs, and he gets clambered right there. Abdu Simbila. An aggressive foul there, so 2 free throws coming for Keyshawn Hall. 17:36 first half. It's a 24-21 Patriot lead here on the road in the Bronx.
And Antrell Charlton right away. Some calm but guiding words to Ramad Dean, who missed his assignment there and resulted in the mismatch down low. Simbila had to come charging in and foul to have any chance of blocking that.
So Keyshawn Hall, his first 2 free throws of the day. He's pure on the first. He's an 84.5%er on the campaign. Chris, this is one of the strongest facets of his game, his ability to drive and force the issue and get to the free throw line.
Yeah, and Ramad Dean picked up a second foul, so he goes to the bench. Josh Rivera in for him. Rivera just 11 and a half minutes per game over the last 4, but tonight he's already seen 8.5 minutes of play, so almost 9 now.
So Hall connects on the second. It's a 26-21 Mason leads. 17.5 second half. Here's Kyle Rose. Stuck in the right corner, fakes the 3. Now dribble drive, baseline, back to the basket, works his way up top now. Hands it off for Josh Rivera. Rivera, top of the key, 3, strong off the heel, and fighting for the offensive rebound. Won't come up with it. Here's Okoji ahead to Hall. Hall dribble drive, and he finishes from the left block. A pretty 2-hand finish, and a 28-21 George Mason lead.
Yeah, Fordham's got to slow the pace down, keep it under control, and get to scoring. This can get away from them quickly if the pace picks up, Miles.
Charlton to walk it up. Handoff up top for Kyle Rose. Rose finds Josh Rivera outside on the right arc. 12 seconds to shoot. Rivera, Charlton to pull the 3, and he gets it from the right arc. 2 threes at Antrell Charlton in the second half, and Fordham within 4.
There you go, Miles. Charlton, 3 of 3 from downtown last time out. Now he's 2 of 3.
16.5 to play. Here's Amari Kelly back to the basket on the left block. Looking to go to work on Abdu. Continues the post moves here on the left block. He'll have to dish it up top for Okoji. 9 seconds to shoot. Here's the freshman Okoji. Draws 2 defenders and flips it out right side for Maddox. Maddox, an NBA 3, no good. Off the right side of the iron. Kyle Rose the rebound. Flips it ahead to Josh Rivera in transition, and it's swatted back Jameer Tripp gets it on the second try, and he can't finish with the right hand. Josh Rivera, a second offensive rebound, and he will draw contact. Oh, they'll say timeout on the Fordham bench before Josh Rivera was able to rise. Keith Ergo says, we didn't call that timeout, but the far side referee says, I heard it from the bench as they continue to go back and forth in front of the Fordham huddle, but no going back when a referee hears timeout. 28-24 is the George Mason lead. It's Fordham basketball, but with 15:58 to play in our second half, we will take a quick break here from Rose Hill Gym. You're listening to Fordham men's basketball on WFUV Sports.
Hi, this is Mike Breen, WFUV class of 1983. WFUV is the flagship station of Fordham Athletics with live coverage of Fordham football, Fordham men's and women's basketball, in addition to Saturday one-on-one. Stay right here on 90.7 FM for all things WFUV Sports.
And welcome back inside Rose Hill. It's a 28-24 George Mason advantage. Fordham basketball coming out of the timeout. 15:58 to play in our second half. I'm Miles Grossman. He's Kris Pursiainen. And Kris, that was a funky sequence right there.
Yeah, Miles, so here's my best piecing together of the scrambled, tattered, and hold puzzle pieces that we've been left to pick up. The Fordham bench was up on their feet, screaming at the players on the court, trying to just calm them down, give them an instructive, a directive, something to do. I think one of the assistants suggested to the player that they might want to call a timeout. The referee on the baseline, who all game has been a little testy and with the calls, and that's all I'll say there. I'm not trying to criticize the job being done. Heard timeout from the Fordham bench, said Ergo must have called it and gave it to them. I'm not even confident that Fordham had rulable, legal possession of the ball at the time that was called, because from the angle I have here on Media Row, both teams had just as many heads on it as the other did. The Fordham gets the timeout. They were arguing against it. I think they should have been fine with it, because there's a chance they would have lost it. The possession arrow is not going their way. So a confusing back and forth sequence there, but really to make sense of it, an accidental timeout from the bench was called by a referee, and Fordham gets a chance here to score. But if they don't, George Mason can take some momentum right on that fast break.
And in some ways, the far side referee is giving the benefit of the doubt for the Fordham Rams, except
nope. Now
Darius Maddox heads to the free throw line for a technical. He deeply bends the knees and he rattles it home. It's now 29-24 as he gets set for his second technical free throw. Of course, nobody standing on the lane as he rattles this one around and out off the left side of the iron. So the George Mason lead will hold it 29-24, 15:58 in our second half. But now, Kris, I'm just as confused as I've ever been about what the call may be.
Do you think Fordham just got a technical for calling a timeout when they couldn't legally call one?
That may be the call, but we're back underway. Here's Jameer Tripp, top of the circle, dribble drive, and he got it swatted back. He's going for the rebound. And who had the last touch? It's Maddox under the basket, so it'll stay here with Jameer Tripp in the Fordham Rams in the offensive set. It'll be the baseline inbound for Antrell Charlton here. It's 29-24 Mason, 15:51 second half. Here's the freshman, Jameer Tripp, dribble drive left lane and swatted back once again. Jared Billups the board, he pushes ahead, moving right to left, dumps it off for Okogie. Okogie Gets it back on the top of the circle, hesitates in on Abdu, and finds Billups. Billups, low post entry for Kelly on the left block. He'll kick it out. Maddox, right corner three, and he's pure right there. 32-24, and Mason, a much hotter offense in our second half.
Well, Maddox makes about 40% of his 5.5 threes per game. He started out 1 of 4. Now he's 2 of 5, which is just in line with his averages.
Here's Jameer Tripp on the block. F angles up top and hands off for Kyle Rose. Rose dribbles left to right. He's got his pocket picked by Okoji. And let's see who the foul is on. Rose lost the possession here. Okoji and him got into it. And let's see who the possession sticks with here. It will be Fordham Ram basketball, so Okoji will be the guilty party. Fordham a little bit of a break there with 15:04 to play. They'll retain the possession, trailing by 8.
Yeah, and Okoji didn't have a foul yet, so that's his first. Just an annoying play for Mason.
Medor just checked in, dribble drive, and he loses the handle. Josh Rivera picks it off in the backcourt and a two-hand slam. Back-to-back turnovers here from Rose Hill, and Rivera able to capitalize with the flush.
If you blinked it, you missed. Rivera dunked it just as fast as he stole it, just as fast as Medor turned it over.
32-26, all in the blink of an eye, Chris. 14:41 in the second half. Here's Keyshawn Hall. Outside on the right arc, one dribble with the right hand. He'll find Billups. Billups getting harassed by Rivera. He'll dribble drive in with the left hand. The lefty scoop is well short, but he draws the contact. And Josh Rivera frustrated with the late call, but it'll be 2 free throws coming for the George Mason Patriots. And their clock stoppage with 14:29 in the second half. It's still 32-26, Mason the lead.
And that's Fordham's 4th foul in this second half, Miles. So something to watch for these Rams. Of course, this one will translate to free throws because it was a shooting foul, the late call, but now Fordham's only got a couple fouls left before the Patriots start getting rewarded via the charity stripe.
So Jared Billups good on the first of 2 free throws. Into the scoring portion of the box score now. He had 2 boards to his credit, and that's his first point. It's a 33-26 George Mason lead here on the road. 14:29 to play. And George Mason rocking those crispy script blacks today. I do like the alternates, Chris.
And Fordham's got the cool gray alternates. I'm surprised no one's wearing the Jordan 11s to match, but maybe a little uncomfortable. Not necessarily the newest technology. Kicks from 1996.
So no good on the second free throw. 33-26 is the Mason advantage. Here's Kyle Rose. Dribble drive, lost control. He'll find Jaffe Medor. Medor can't handle it, and it'll be the backcourt violation. Jaffe Medor couldn't handle the pass, kicked it to himself, but then when he recovered, he was already in the backcourt. So the turnover going back Mason's way now with 14-11 and a 7-point advantage, 33-26 Patriots.
Lineup update. Will Richardson in for Antrell Charlton, so a guard for a guard, but lineup gets a little younger, a little smaller.
Austin Ball, the freshman, is the trigger man on the near sideline. He'll find his big guy in Amari Kelly. Kelly, top of the circle, hesitates and hands off for Austin Ball. Ball flips it into the hands of Okoji outside on the right perimeter. Hesitates in on Kyle Rose and dishes it back up top for Ball. Ball over to Maddox on the right arc. Dribble drive. He'll dump it down low for Henry. Henry rises and the lefty finish. Well, that time it's Amari Kelly, correct? Pardon me there. And a 35-26 George Mason lead.
Yeah, Miles, when you've got 60 points on the board, a three-pointer is 5% of that. When you've got 30 points on the board, it's 10, and that's the margin of error for Fordham. It's so small.
Rivera, top of the key, angles to the right side and hands off for Rose. Rose over to Simbila. He'll flip it into the hands of Medor. Medor up top for Rivera now, top of the key. 3, no good. Off the right side of the iron. Amari Kelly pulls down the free board for Mason. It's 35-26. Mason on top. Here's Okoji, the freshman. Dribble drive from the right arc. It's tapped free. Last touch, Josh Rivera. It'll stay here with Mason. 13-15 second half, and George Mason a solid 9-point advantage here on the road.
Look at Fordham going with the all-offense lineup now, looking to inject a scoring punch. It's Gray and Rivera, the front court. Medor, Richardson, and Charlton, the 3-guard backcourt.
And Fordham scoreless the last 90 seconds. Here's Mason with the basketball at the top of the key. They'll dish it over right side for Okoji, and it's a foul well away from the basketball. Looks like wrestling down low was Amari Kelly. battling for position, so it'll be the foul on the floor. The baseline inbound in the offensive half. Now for Mason.
Elijah Gray committed the foul there. That's his third of the game. So not good news for Fordham, who just put the young Gray back in for a scoring punch, the big forward.
13:09 second half. Here's Kelly. Outside on the right arc, getting harassed by Antrell Charlton. He'll hand off for Maddox. Maddox, drill drive, dump down low, and the pretty reverse lay there. That time it's Malik Henry off the bench, and it's a 37-26 Mason lead.
That's Elijah Gray getting caught off guard in the pick and roll coverage there. Needs to seal off the paint. He got stuck outside of it.
Jaffe Medor, now the backup point guard. Left arc, he'll pull the triple, no good. Off the right side of the iron, battling for the rebound down low is Rivera. He'll get fouled over the back. This one's on Amari Kelly, so with 12:41 to play, stays here under the basket in the offensive set for the Fordham Rams. 12:41 to play. It's a 37-26 Mason lead. So you got some substitutions on the far sideline. Amari Kelly off. Woody Newton on.
And Kelly's coming off because he just picked up his third foul. So Newton, the senior guard/forward, coming in now to replace him.
Richardson, top of the key, crosses right to left, finds Medor, and he nails the three. But prior to the shot attempt, it's a moving pick out of Elijah Gray. A split-second call just as he released the shot. But it's going right back in the direction of Mason, and that'll be Elijah Gray's fourth foul of the day as he heads to the Pine.
There's number 55, Josh Rivera, coming back in for Gray. He just went to the bench in place of Gray. Now taking his place is Rivera.
12.5 to play here from Rose Hill Gym. 37-26, the Mason lead with the ball. Here's Ball. Left arc three, and he buries it. A little bit of a celebration there, and Keith Thurgo needs the timeout. It's all Mason here in the second half, 40-26, and with 12:21 to play, Keith Thurgo and his staff will regroup at the huddle.
Yeah, Miles, immediate timeout triggered here by the referees because, I mean, why not? We're already 20 seconds away from that point of the game, and as Fordham gets a chance to talk things over, they're down 14. It's what I was saying earlier. Those three-point buckets matter so much more. Those even two-point buckets matter so much more when the score is so close. So the Rams don't have the margin of error that they might in a higher scoring affair. I mean, sometimes their games go back and forth like an argument. Tonight, you're having each team get about a paragraph off at a time, taking their time, and Fordham gave up their last few chances. George Mason didn't do the same, and so they capitalized. They're up 14 points now.
And Fordham scoreless in the last 2:32. One of their last 7 from the field. It's an 8-0 George Mason run in the last 2.5 minutes. But with 12:21 to play here from Rose Hill Gym, it's a 40-26 George Mason lead. And with that, we'll send it back to our Rose Hill studios for a scoreboard update with Zach Cordova.
The one-on-one scoreboard.
Over in Ohio, the number 21 Dayton Flyers are in control of this one as they lead Davidson 56-35 about midway through the second half. Number 16 Kentucky is on upset watch as Mississippi State is leading big with a score of 52-45 with 15 to go in the second half. The number 1 Houston Cougars are showing why they are the team to beat as they hold a 38-21 lead over Cincinnati early in the second half. It's past 8 o'clock, which means another top 25 team is just tipped off as the number 7 Kansas Jayhawks look to make it 3 consecutive wins as they host the BYU Cougars. The Jayhawks lead at 14-9 early in the first half. And crossing it over to NBA action, the Knicks and Pelicans are in a close one over at MSG. Pelicans are in the driver's seat with a score of 35-28 midway through the second quarter. And with the one-on-one scoreboard, I'm Zach Cordova.
To 26, the George Mason Patriots lead your Fordham Rams here from the Bronx. 12:21 to play. I'm Miles Grossman alongside Kris Pursiainen. And Kris, there's been moments in the first half as well as the second half where the Fordham offense has gone absolutely stagnant while they're found themselves right back in one of those spots, scoreless in the last 2:32.
Yeah, Miles, nothing going right for this Fordham offense right now. We'll see them give another run at it with Medor, Rivera, Richardson, some offensive weapons out there on the court, but They went all offense last time out. Rivera, Gray sharing the front court.
Medor walks it up, finds Charlton in the right corner, and he buries the triple. A much-needed bucket there. It's a 40-29 George Mason lead. 12:01 to play. Here's the full court pressure out of the Fordham Rams. Okogie flips it high into the hands of Woody Newton. Newton back to Okogie at the top of the circle now. 15 seconds to shoot. Here's the freshman Okogie. He'll find Maddox outside on the right perimeter. Down low for Newton. Newton, right side mid-post, muscling his way in on Rivera. He rises and he's well strong there, but Abdou Simbila, well away from the basketball, commits the foul, and it will stay right here with George Mason. And now both sides will head to the huddle, Kris. 11:39 to play, and the Fordham Rams have just gifted George Mason another possession.
Yeah, Abdou Simbila, the foul down low. I mean, just not great stuff for the Rams when you're already down 11 because of a three you were able to make. So you're fighting for momentum, and then you give up a scoring chance there just because of a frivolous foul. I mean, obviously, sure, the referees may have decided to call that one consciously. You know, of course, they had to manually blow the whistle and be like, that's a foul, but it's not like it was an egregious call. It was well within the rules, and Simbila needs to make sure he's not blowing his team's chances like that. I'm not saying he's not been one of the better players for Fordham today, but I haven't seen much from him here in the second half.
And he was going back and forth with the freshman Austin Ball down low. Now, there was a lot of contact from both sides. Abdou was complaining. He had the bear hug on me the whole time. I was just getting him off. But nevertheless, they will call the foul here with 11:39 to play, Kris. And a 40-29 scenario. The Fordham Rams, of course, trail by 11. But Antrell Charlton, the right corner three, was able to break the scoreless drought. And the Fordham Rams, only 11:39 to play, but they're 5 of 20 from range, 25% as a team. That number is going to need to tick up a few times if they're going to win this ball game.
Yeah, George Mason's made one fewer three-pointer, just 4 makes for them thus far, but they've taken 8 fewer shots from downtown, being more efficient with their shot selection. That's why you take a look at the grand scheme number. Fordham's just shooting 23.9% on total field goals. George Mason's up to 15 of 36, Miles. That's almost 42%, and you've seen them in the second half double their point total from the first half, and it's not even halfway through the second half yet. They're more than doubling their pace.
And Kris, there's been a couple times where the Fordham Rams just haven't had the shooting numbers to win ball games. I remember back at Madison Square Garden, we had the pleasure of calling that one against St. John's, and the Fordham Rams, no matter what kind of defensive output they were going to put out there, those shooting numbers were not going to lead to a win. And it's a similar situation today. 11 of 46 from the field, 5 of 20 from downtown. I mean, it's extremely difficult to win any basketball game with those numbers, let alone in the Atlantic 10.
Yeah, St. John's a team that's up and down, but they do great in the Atlantic 10. They've got some bigger players, and Joel Soriano knows the league well. The thing is, for Fordham, that was in the non-conference portion of their schedule. A lot of the issues they faced there at MSG against St. John's were supposed to have been sorted out by this time of year. So for the Rams, you come at home trying to get a second win in a row. You're 1 and 6 at home in conference play. You finally get one now, a chance to make it a second. Coming out flat thus far against George Mason, who's playing to their identity. They're not showing you anything new or surprising. They've just been a physical ball club, and they're trying to be careful with the basketball in the second half after lots of turnovers in the first.
So the front end of the 1-and-1, Adam Malik Henry is strong off the heel, but Fordham can't handle the rebound. It's out of bounds off Josh Rivera. And now the Fordham Rams, a little bit of infighting here with 11:37 to play. The possession stays right here with George Mason.
Well, Miles, it was Okogie, the freshman, who sprinted out of bounds, took the ball, threw it off of Simbila, Charlton, Rivera, whoever he could get. Veteran move from the freshman.
So a clock issue here with 11:37 to play, 19 seconds on the shot clock. Reason for the whistle, but back set to get underway. It's George Mason in the offensive set under the basket. The lob into the hands of Henry, and a handoff for Okogie at the top of the circle. Okogie hesitates at the top of the circle. Abdu, the mismatch on him. Dribble drive for the freshman guard, gets caught up and finds Maddox. Maddox, top of the circle, he splits two defenders and gets the scoop to fall. 42-29, Mason back up 13, 11-15 to play.
Maddox froze his defender. The pump fake stopped on a dime and then spun around and got the basket up. That's really skilled from a guard.
Rivera up top for Richardson now. Dribbles behind the back and pulls it up. Finds Antrell Charlton outside on the left perimeter. Dribble drive. He hits the deck. It's a scrum down low, and Abdu comes out with it. Abdu to Richardson. Richardson, top of the key. Three is money right there. And Fordham within 10 now. 10:47 to play. It's 42-32. Mason the lead and the ball. Okoji into the offensive half. He finds another freshman in ball and gets it on the Ram logo. Okoji taking his time, letting the offense develop here. He'll give it off to Maddox on the left arc now. Maddox bounces it into the hands of Woody. Woody, skip pass over to Austin Ball. Austin Ball, right corner, dribble drive. The reverse lay under the cup, no good. But Fordham unable to grab the offense or the defensive rebound. It's last touch Fordham staying right here with Mason. 10:20 to play and a 10-point lead for the Patriots.
Yeah, and here's that lineup from earlier. Medore, Richardson, Charlton, three guards, and then Rivera and Simbila. You've got Tripp, Dean, Rose, and Gray all watching on from the sideline. Lots of the team's size and physicality in place of the skill.
10:20 to play. Here's Okoji. Dribble drive, pulls up from 15, and he gets the righty floater to fall. Off the front of the iron and down. It's a 44-32. George Mason lead. 10:05 to play here from the Bronx. Jaffe Medore probes on the left side and dumps it down low for Abdu. Abdu the turnaround, and he'll draw some contact. Malik Henry is the guilty party, and Abdu Simbila will trot to the free throw line now with 10:01 to play. That'll be the first foul of the day on Henry. It's 44-32. Mason the lead. 2 free throws for Abdu.
Yeah, and that was the first free throw of the day committed against Simbila that results in free throws for him. So he's drawn a foul thus far, now 2, but no free throws until now.
Abdu Simbila rattles around and down on the first free throw. He's a 71.4%er on the campaign. He's improved that steadily throughout first his Penn State career and then his Fordham Ram career.
And Miles, we got a note here from our on-site producer, Joe Henry. These are the first free throws of the second half, period. That's just
for the Fordham Rams.
Yeah. I mean, this is not them following the game plan of slowing the clock down and tacking points on the board. This is not an adherence to that.
Absolutely right, but Abdu able to cash in on a pair right there and bring the Fordham Rams back within 10. Here's Ball, left side transition 3, no good off the heel. Abdu rises and rips down the rebound. Now ahead to Antrell Charlton, moving left to right. He finds Rose. Rose, top of the key, 3 is money once again. And Fordham within 7 now. That's Kyle Rose's first bucket of the day. Make him 1 of 7 from the field.
Yeah, Miles, timely from Rose. Now 1 of 5 from downtown.
And now the crowd is into it here at Rose Hill. 44-37 is the George Mason lead with the ball. Here's Austin Ball. Dishes up top for Okoji. Okoji, the freshman, splits 2 and finds Hall. Top of the key. Keyshawn Hall in and out and around and down on the 3. Hung on the rim for about 2 seconds, but it's a 47-37 lead now for Mason.
And Miles, Fordham was building momentum there. Chance of defense ringing throughout the historic Rose Hill Gym. Keith Thurgo on the court cheering his guys on, but they blow it right at the end.
So Austin Ball a little too aggressive on the reach-in. So that'll stop the clock. 8:56 to play. It's the far sideline inbound for the Fordham Rams. Kyle Rose has just picked up his first bucket of the day. 1 of 7 from the field, 1 of 5 from deep. And the Fordham Rams are going to need some more of that. Here's Kyle Rose. Now finds Antrell Charlton at the top of the circle. He'll flip it back to Rose. Right arc 3. No good off the heel there. The freshman Okoji rises and pulls down the Mason rebound. It's 47-37 Mason. Okoji, the freshman, dribble drive, heart of the lane in on Kyle Rose. Rises and is blocked by Abdu Simbila. He'll get his own rebound now and ahead to Will Richardson. Richardson outside on the left arc. Dumps it off for Kyle Rose now, stuck in the right corner. Rose looking to go to work on the freshman Okoji. He'll flip it back up top for Charlton. Charlton hesitates from the lefty slot and dumps it down low for Dean. Dean rises and he draws contact. That'll be once again on Henry right there. 47-37 is the Mason lead, but Fordham able to get back to the free throw line a little bit here with 8:13 to play.
Yeah, and that's only George Mason's 5th team foul. Fordham up to 7. So another one from them. Mason will benefit in the form of free throws. Mason's got a couple to give, though.
So Dean, the 57%er, steps up to the free throw line. He's got 5 points and 3 boards to his name as he's nothing but net on the first of 2 free throws, making 6 points, 3 boards, and 1 of 1 from the charity stripe. And, of course, Chris, this is his first trip to the free throw line, and that's to be expected.
Yeah, definitely a lot going on, Miles, now in this second half. It's just been a different ball game here. The pace is faster, and these teams are getting to the free throw line at a rate way greater than they did. 4 total free throws in the first half. We've had 4th free throw shot here in the last minute.
So Ahmad Dean rattles home the second free throw. It's a 47-39 George Mason advantage. Here's Maddox, right side forecourt, flips it up top for the freshman Okoji. Chest pass back over to Jared Billups. Billups up top for Okoji. He'll skip it back right side. He'll find Maddox. Maddox back to Billups. Billups pops the 3, and it's blocked by Will Richardson. A beautifully timed closeout there. Charlton the rebound ahead to Richardson. Richardson left corner 3, and he's got it. 42-47. Fordham back within 5 with 7.5 to play.
Yeah, Will Richardson just put his mean face on and said, I'm going to take care of this really quick. I know this doesn't look great right now, guys, but you give me a couple plays, let's make something happen. Look at Will Richardson, the sophomore guard out of Teaneck, New Jersey. He's actually second on this Fordham team in points per game and at 10, and first on this Fordham team in double-digit scoring performances this season. He's no stranger to the big moment, even though this year that spotlight has been arguably too bright for him. The defensive attention, now that he's at the top of the scouting report, way different. But for Richardson now, Miles, wheeling and dealing, making plays, aggressive on the defensive end, drawing the love of Keith Ergo from the sideline, and most importantly, knocking down big shots to keep these Rams in this ballgame.
Well, Chris, it's a 5-0 run in the last 94 seconds for the Fordham Rams. And just like that, they're back within 5, 47-42. George Mason on top with 7:39 to play. This is Fordham men's basketball on WFUV Sports.
Brian Gregory here, joined with Michael Calamari and Andrew Galata, 3 of your hosts for Nosebleeds, WFUV's only baseball podcast.
Tune in every week as we recap the latest from the Bronx and Queens, as well as news from around the MLB.
You can listen to Nosebleeds on Apple, Spotify, WFUVsports.org, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Take a trip around the bases all season long with the Nosebleeds podcast on WFUV Sports.
Well, Chris, the defensive slugfest rages on here from Rose Hill. It's a 47-42 George Mason lead on the road here in the Bronx. 7:39 to play. I'm Miles Grossman alongside my man Kris Pursiainen. And Chris, the second half has been vastly different as opposed to the first, but Fordham finally able to get their first George Mason drought in quite a while. Mason scoreless in the last 90 or so seconds, and that's what's led to this.
Well, Miles, 7 of 33 were the Rams in the first half. Now they're 7 of 17 thus far in the second half. The Patriots 8 of 27 to start. Now 10 of 16 in the second half.
For both sides, a tick up offensively. It had to be, right? Revert back to the mean. Here's Okoji, the freshman, top of the circle. Finds Maddox outside on the left arc, back to Okoji. Down low for Kelly. Kelly, the extra pass for Ball, and Ball, the lefty finish off the glass. Making a 49-42 Mason advantage, 7:08 to play.
Going to see Fordham take their time here. They know they're right in it, down just 7, even after the Mason bucket. So just tag one on at a time, Miles. Take care of one thing you can.
Charlton draws 2 defenders and kicks over left side for Dean. Dean to Rose on the left elbow. He turns around and gets it back to Dean. Dean on the left corner 3, and he got it. Fordham back within 4. 49-45.
And the play that won't show up in the box score that created that for Dean. Rose will get the assist, but he should also get a screen assist. He boxed out Dean's defender from being able to close out, leaving Ramad wide open from the left corner.
6.5 to play. Here's Okoji outside on the righty slide. 2 dribbles with the left hand. He fakes the 3 now and gets it over to Austin Ball. Ball back to Okoji, and Okoji got the pass picked off. Here's Richardson loose in the backcourt, and he got hacked down there in transition. It was the intentional foul out of Okoji, and that's a dangerous play right there. And I'm surprised we don't get some sort of intentional foul call, flagrant foul call. But with 6:15, that'll stop the clock, and Will Richardson will head to the free throw line. Fordham now just within 4.
Well, the security tape still little limp over there after Darius Maddox went crashing through it. Really hard foul from Okoji, trying to set the tone, now getting a talking to from his coach. A little upset that his coach didn't meet his level of competitiveness there, telling him to cool it. But now, the Fordham cheer squad over there, trampled by not a Ram, but a Patriot.
And Will Richardson good on the first of 2 free throws, just a 65%er. One of the weaker aspects of his game, but he's up to 9 points on the evening now, and Fordham within 3.
Let's go to the other side of the ball, too, Miles. He had 2 blocks versus Davidson, 2 blocks versus LaSalle in A-10 play. He's got 2 blocks again today, 2 steals to go with it, and he drew a charge. That's a big defensive game from Richardson.
Short off the front iron there. Okoji flips it ahead to Maddox. Back to Okoji, almost the backcourt violation, but it's a Mason 3-point lead, 49-46, with 6 minutes flat to play here from Rose Hill Gym. It's Maddox. He'll bounce it over right side for Ball. Get it back and find Okoji on the lefty slot. Lefty slot dribble drive and dumps it down low for Hall. It's out of bounds, and we'll see who had the last touch. It'll stay right here with George Mason. Looks like Antrell Charlton the last touch on the offensive baseline of Mason. So with 5:50, a clock stoppage, 5 seconds to shoot here for George Mason, but they will have the ball under the basket.
And Will Richardson went up to the sideline referee, said, I know you saw it, but he didn't change the call. Still Mason ball.
Okoji lobs it, and it's tipped away. Ramad Dean fighting for it, and the last touch, George Mason. Going right back the Fordham Rams way, and that's that classic Fordham brand. Ramad Dean with an effort turnover with 5:47 to play, and the Fordham Rams trail by a sole possession, 49-46.
I hate to be that guy, but I do think that was Mason ball. The funny thing is that there was only 2 seconds left on the shot clock. It wouldn't have mattered much.
Charlton dribble drive left side. He's out of control, and it's poked free by Maddox. Abdu Simbila tripped him from underneath, so Maddox will draw the contact. That's Abdu Simbila's 3rd foul of the evening. And that has George Mason in the single bonus. So with 5:35, it's a 1-1 situation for the visiting Patriots. Already on top 3, 49-46.
Yeah, and you see Fordham's managers hard at work, cleaning up all the sweat left on the ground from that spill. Had some action on the court there on the hardwood, but here is Maddox. He's having a good shooting game from downtown today after a tough start. He's now up to 2 of 6 from 3. Good shooter.
So Darius Maddox, the front end of the 1-1 here, deeply bends the knees, and he's got the front end, so he earns an opportunity for one more. He's an 85.9%er on the campaign. He's having an awfully solid day. 12 points, 5 boards, 4 dimes. Of course, 2 of 3 from the free throw line. Here's the second out of the right hand of Maddox, around and down there. 51-46 is the Mason lead.
And Miles, when you see Maddox play, I mean, you know, he came from Virginia Tech 2 years there, and 2022 All-ACC All-Tournament team, but a guard who isn't necessarily the lead point guard, can pass it a little and takes a lot of threes. You think maybe Fordham's looking at what they'd like to see out of Will Richardson in a year or two.
And also 6'5", he's got a little bit of that Antrell Charlton frame. Here's Charlton, top of the key. He'll bounce it right side. Kyle Rose, the triple, and nothing but net for Kyle Rose. Fordham back within 2, just like that. 51-49 Patriots with 5:08 to play.
Well, you saw both teams have a rusty go of it in the first half. Mason revved their engines up quick. Fordham given last rights by some now, right in it.
Okoji over to Hall. Hall on the right arc, drives in and rises, and he's got it blocked back. Kyle Rose recovers, 4:45 and ticking. Fordham trails by 2. Rose, left side triple, and the Rams got the lead, 52-51. And Fordham buried 7 of their last 8 from the field, and Rose Hill is rocking once again.
Miles, you just got to smile. Kyle Rose up to 9 points now after a scoreless first half. He's the star the Fordham Rams needed.
Here's Okoji, the freshman. Dumps it down low for Ball. Ball inside for Hall on the left block, and he's got the lefty finish. Keyshawn Hall, a muscly finish right there. And Mason regains the lead, 53-52, 4:09 and ticking.
You know, Fordham's looking for Kyle Rose, the hot hand, Miles. An 0-4 start from downtown, but he's made 3 of his last 3.
Charlton skips it over for Rose. He'll pull the triple. No good. Airballs it right, but Abdu Simbila catches and draws contact as he rises from under the basket. 2 free throws coming for Abdu Simbila. And Mason, a narrow 1-point lead, 53-52. 3:46 to play here from Rose Hill. A back and forth second half, Chris. It's been fun, but with that, we'll take a quick break and send it back to our Rose Hill studios for a scoreboard update with Zach Cordova.
The one-on-one scoreboard.
For the last time tonight, ladies and gentlemen, let's check in on some hoop scores, shall we? Checking back into the action over in Dayton, Ohio, the Flyers are looking to finish this one out with a smooth landing as they lead Davidson 74-58 with time running out in the second half. The Houston Cougars are looking to remain on top as they continue to fend off the Cincinnati Bearcats with a score of 47-38 with under 8 to go. An exciting finish looks to be in the cards as number 16 Kentucky and unranked Mississippi State are keeping it interesting late in the second half with a score of 71-67, Mississippi State leading. And number 7, Kansas and BYU are keeping it close so far. It is Kansas leading at 33-26 with 2 to go in the first half. And for a final peek into the action at MSG, the New York Knicks and New Orleans Pelicans continue to battle this one out as the Pelicans lead at 48-47 at the half. And with the one-on-one scoreboard, I'm Zach Cordova.
.356 to play here from the North Bronx, and Fordham has charged all the way back. George Mason on top, 53-52. Here from Rose Hill Gym, I'm Miles Grossman alongside Kris Pursiainen. And Chris, the Fordham Rams offensively have taken a huge step forward as of late. 4 of their last 5 from downtown, and that's really where it's come from. Kyle Rose has hit a couple as of late. Antrell Charlton hit a couple threes early in the second half. And those older guys, once again, hitting from downtown, and it's made a difference.
Well, Miles, Fordham has launched a full aerial assault today on George Mason. 33 of their 52 points have come from beyond the arc from three-point shots. 11 makes on 28 takes. Brings them to 39% on the game, and that's really solid, Miles. 40% is the magic number for three-point shots. Now, you go look at George Mason, they've only made 5 because they've only taken 15. They're shooting about 33.3%, and that's about where they are, Miles. Mason, 10th in the A-10 in three-point percentage. Not some sharpshooting team like we established at the top of the game.
Absolutely, and Chris, take a look at these field goal splits as opposed to the three-point arc. 11 of 28, right? As you said, 39.3% as a team from downtown, and then only 31% from the field overall. I mean, these Fordham Rams can't get much going inside, but in the second half, the three-point shot has been there.
Alec Burks, the NBA player, I'd say is infamous for always having a higher three-point percentage than field goal percentage on a year-to-year basis. And Rams playing a little bit of Burks ball tonight, it seems.
So Abdu Simbila beautifully finishes off the first of 2 free throws, and Fordham a tie ball game at 53 all now. Abdu 3 of 3 from the charity stripe this evening. And now with 3:56 to play, Abdu stands at the free throw line with an opportunity to take the lead. Abdu, not much bend to the knees. The righty free throw is strong off the heel, and Kelly rips free the George Mason rebound. It's 53 all with 3:50 to play here in the second half. Okoji, the knee-high dribble with the left hand. Now back to the basket at the top of the circle. Kyle Rose applies the pressure. Okoji kicks it left arc now for Maddox. Maddox dumps it down low for Hall. Hall rises, and he's strong with the left hand, but he will draw the contact. So Keyshawn Hall will be headed to the free throw line, and once again, a late call out of our near sign referee, but a clock stoppage with 3:34 and a tie ball game once again. 53 all with 2 coming for their leading score at 17.3 a game, Keyshawn Hall.
Just some context for the listeners at home, not trying to make too much fuss out of anything, but Abdu Tsimbil is up to 4 fouls now because of that call from the same guy earlier who said that the ghost of the Fordham Rams bench called a timeout, so definitely a little questionable.
So Keyshawn Hall nails the first of 2, gives Mason a 54-53 lead with 3:34 to play. And Keyshawn Hall, the 4th leading scorer in all of the Atlantic 10, as he's around and out there. No good, but Ramad Din bodied in there with Maddox, and they'll say last touch. Ramad Dean staying right here with George Mason, and another freebie possession for the Patriots. 3:32 to play. It's a 54-53 Mason lead with the ball.
And Abdu Tsimbila, who has 9 rebounds and 4 blocks, just checked out of the game because of the 4 fouls. It's Rivera in now.
And the lob inside. Kyle Rose pokes it free, but he's called for the foul. And the Fordham faithful just can't believe the call. Now they're letting them hear it, and I am not too surprised. Antrell Charlton just has to grin. Kyle Rose is hyping up the crowd, and now you don't want Fordham to get teed up at all here, but it is George Mason heading for a 1-and-1 with 3:31 to play and a 1-point lead, 54-53.
Miles, this game was so low scoring in the first half. So few foul calls. I mean, even now, right? Fordham's taken 10 free throws. George Mason has taken 13. Reed Bailey, we've seen him take 12 free throws himself in a game for Davidson. So, I mean, this has not been a high foul game. These referees have made it very clear they are not calling the ticky-tack today. But on the last 2 plays, very late whistles have ruled the Patriots beneficiaries of free throws.
So Keyshawn Hall once again buries the first of 2, making a 55-53 George Mason lead. Of course, one more coming for the sophomore forward, the UNLV transfer. The lefty rises and he buries it once again, 56-53. The George Mason advantage with 3.5 to play. Antrell Charlton will inbound now to Will Richardson, and the full court pressure is on for George Mason. Richardson will trot up now as the full court pressure eases off. Fordham trails by 3. It's Charlton at the top of the circle. He'll bounce it high post for Rivera. Rivera, the dribble handoff for Charlton. Charlton skips it down low. It's Rivera. One dribble, regains under the basket. He'll have to kick it out left side for Richardson, and Richardson will draw contact with 3:11 to play in a 1-and-1 situation once again now, this time for the Fordham Rams. That's the second of the day there. But 56-53, the Mason lead, and a 1-and-1 coming for Will Richardson with 3:11 to play.
Richardson, 65.8% from the free throw line. Miles, you established earlier, it's the Achilles heel of the sophomore
Particularly
guard.
for a shooter.
You know, that's the thing with Richardson, though, is he's a 28% shooter from downtown. So the volume is there. He takes about 5.5 a game. But the accuracy isn't there. It's a bit more of what the Rams need him to be as a floor spacer as opposed to what he is.
So a pretty finish there at the free throw line for Will Richardson. Make him up to 10 points on the day, 2 of 3 from the charity stripe. And here's a deep bend of the knees. The second free throw is well short, but Antrell Charlton, the offensive rebound, he'll find Kyle Rose, and Rose gets fouled under the basket, and that was a ticky-tack whistle, but this time in favor of the Fordham Rams. So another clock stoppage with 3 minutes and 8 seconds to play. It's a 56-54 Mason lead, and Kyle Rose now steps to the free throw line.
And Miles, you know, you've made clear that it's going both ways here with these calls, but you just don't love that the referees chose this juncture of the ball game to start calling it like this. It just all feels a little weird.
So Rose, another beautiful finish at the free throw line. Not an ounce of rim there. Kyle Rose up to 10 points and 1 of 1 from the free throw line.
I was going to say, another beautiful finish. Tracks back to Duquesne. It's his first take of the day. Also his first make.
So Rose rattles home the second. 56 all is the score with 3:05 to play here from the Bronx. It's Maddox to walk it up now on Antrell Charlton. He'll skip it right side, and the ball is loose. Kyle Rose gets it to go off Okoji, and the Fordham Rams force the turnover in transition. Our near side referee says Okoji had the last touch, so it's 56 all with 2:58 to play, and the Fordham Rams the possession.
Yeah, Miles, look at Okoji, the freshman there. He made the veteran play earlier to throw it out of bounds off of Charlton and save the possession. This time, Rose gets him.
Charlton handoff for Rose at the top of the circle. Back to Charlton now at the top of the key. Crosses right to left and dishes over to Kyle Rose. Kyle Rose, 14 seconds to shoot. Declines the Rivera screen. Crosses over left to right now. Dribble drive from the right side, and it's swatted back. Beautiful block right there for Amari Kelly. Out of bounds, last touch. Kelly, of course, on the beautiful swat. And now our referees are debating about whether or not this bucket counts, and they'll count it. They'll call it a goaltend, and they'll head to the monitor. At the moment, they say the bucket counts. It's a 58-56 Fordham lead. But now, Chris, what do we have? We got refs deliberating.
Our favorite word, Miles, and something important here is the number 4. Why? Because Amari Kelly has 4 blocks right now, as well as 4 personal fouls. So we'll take a look and see. I don't think these referees can retroactively call a foul on Kelly. So it's just, will he get a 5th block, or will the Rams get 2 points? That's the key right now. And for Fordham, you know they're hoping for the 2, because to have to go back out there with 7 on the shot clock, it's just a little demoralizing. But if you can get back on defense and get back to playing to your identity, mucking it up, that's how you win ball games. And, you know, over in Davidson, they say they win games mud wrestling. Here, Coach Ergo says it's getting down and dirty, but these A-10 coaches all have the same message. They know to beat each other. These teams are similar. They got to muck it up.
Exactly right, Chris. And there's only 2:35 to play, so this bucket absolutely crucial. I mean, there's not that much basketball left to be played. And an important distinction is that it was called a goaltend on the court. It will take indisputable video evidence to go the other direction. And, of course, initially it looked like it was going to be the other way, but they will count the bucket. The Fordham faithful likes the call. It's 58-56. Fordham on top with 2:35 to play. Of course, now it will be George Mason basketball, but the Fordham Rams feel like they're in the driver's seat for the first time in a while.
And Miles, Jameer Tripp still on the bench. He was scoreless today in his 8 minutes of play. So the lineup for the Rams here, Charlton, Richardson, and Rose. Dean and Rivera. The tallest guy on the court is 6'8". I'm interested to see how this plays.
Here's Maddox stuck in the backcourt. He finds the freshman Okoji, who got the start for the injured Ronald Polite. Okoji, knee-high dribble with the right hand, 2:21 and ticking. Okoji starts the possession by finding Amari Kelly, the big guy. Kelly back to the basket, right side mid-post. Backing his way down on Josh Rivera, rises with the left hand, and he gets it to fall. A tough look there for Amari Kelly. It's a 58-all game. 2:04 to play.
Rivera, because of his center of gravity and size, becomes probably the most attackable defender on the floor. Look for George Mason to run that back, Miles.
Rose, top of the key, hesitates now back to the basket on the A-10 logo. He'll find Ramad Dean. Dean dribble drive, skip pass down low for Rivera. Rivera too strong from the left block. Keyshawn Hall pulls down the Mason rebound. It's 58 all, 142 and ticking. Okoji once again the knee-high dribble as he trots, moving right to left in the road blacks. It's Okoji, angles his way to the left arc now, 15 seconds to shoot. Just pass up top for Maddox, back to Okoji and the lob down low. They'll find Kelly. Kelly with 8 seconds to shoot. Kicks it out for Okoji. Okoji, dribble drive. The freshman rises with the right hand, and he's out of control. It'll be a shot clock violation as Ramad Dean fighting for the rebound. But 58 all is the score, and the Fordham Rams get a much-needed stop with a $1:15 to play.
I was going to say, Miles, 75 seconds remain in this matchup, and we've essentially got a fresh score. Things to note here. Fordham Rams are at home. They've got not the home crowd they did last time out, but one that's alive right now, and they're in the single bonus. Mason in the double bonus. Just the scene is set here for a 75-second play for it all mini game here.
And Antral Charlton, a burst of speed in the offensive set. Keith Thurgo wants the timeout. And with 1:12 to play here from Rose Hill Gym, both sides will head to the huddle. It's a tie ball game, 58 all.
Miles, Fordham is 4 of 5 from 3 in their last 5 3-point attempts. And that's how they're back in this one. Like we said earlier, it was the aerial attack that helped them make the comeback, but now it's going to go back to what got them in that first half battle, the 19-18 first half score. It was defense, it was the margins, the details, putting all your effort into closing out, into making a pass with 2 hands. No tiny mistakes, because if we said the margin of error was minuscule earlier, it's non-existent now. Miles, a turnover here could and probably would lose you the ball game flat out.
One of the bigger possessions of the evening here for the Fordham Rams. It's 58 all with 1:12 to play. Kyle Rose will be the inbounder on the far sideline directly in front of head coach Keith Thurgo and our sports information director Joe DeBari right in front of that printer on the far sideline. 58 all is the score. Antral Charlton has it on the block F. The knee-high dribble with the right hand. He crosses right to left and hands off for Kyle Rose. Rose over to Richardson on the weave at the top of the circle. They find Antral Charlton. Charlton draws the pressure from Wood. He pulls from 18. He's no good. Strong off the right side. And the rebound picked up there by Jared Billups. He'll hand off for Trey Wood, the backup guard. And Trey Wood pushes into the offensive set. And we'll get the timeout. His head coach, Tony Skinn, was saying, bring that basketball to me so I can call that a timeout. But nevertheless, with 48.5 seconds, it is George Mason basketball in that identical situation. 58 all, and this time it's Mason's turn to land the punch.
Miles, we can't be surprised that in a game that had 37 total points scored at halftime, we were hyping up 75 seconds left, tie game, and with 48 seconds to go, it's still a tie game because no baskets were scored. It's not like each team got one in there, or even 2. No, it's been a defensive showdown, and it's up to the Fordham Rams and their closing lineup here, which consists of the experienced guards, Charlton and Rose, have you been talking about all game, but also some big players, most namely Abdou Tambilla, checking back in here for the final 48 and a half of play. And you see Antral Charlton going up to him saying, Abdou, please, 2 hands straight in the air. Do not foul. We cannot afford it. They are in the double bonus.
So the 5 out there, Dean Richardson, Rose Charlton, and as you said, the big guy down low, Abdou Tambilla. It's 58-58 between the Fordham Rams and the George Mason Patriots. 48.5 seconds to play. The freshman Austin Ball, the trigger man on the near sideline. Ball flips it into the backcourt for Okoji. And Okoji will trot up, now taking his time. 43 seconds to play, 17 seconds on the shot clock. Over the ball on the right arc, he'll find his man in Amari Kelly. Amari Kelly flips it down low for Keyshawn Hall. Hall back to the basket, rises and is blocked back. Out of bounds on the block by Kyle Rose. And with 6 seconds to play on the shot clock, it's a 58 all ball game. Possession stays here with George Mason. 30.6 on the game clock, 6 flat on the shot clock. Here's Kelly. Left side, short corner inbound. He'll find Hall. 2 seconds to shoot. Hall rises and he's out of control. But the reverse under the basket as the shot clock expired. They call it a bucket at the moment. Amari Kelly caught the air ball and hit the finish off the glass and down with 24.2 seconds to play. Kris, at the moment, they haven't put the 2 points on the scoreboard. It looked like the referees said count the bucket. But now, of course, we got him at the monitor once again, reviewing the video. And I'm not sure if this is a Fordham scorekeeper decision to keep it off the scoreboard.
I think it is.
But it is, let's say it's 60-58. Even though Fordham has not put the bucket up, the referees say count it.
That's the home cooking, Miles. They don't want to put those points on the board.
It's a little suspicious.
Absolutely have to. The Rams scoreless in the last 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Definitely don't want to see a bucket go the other team's way here. Listen, it was really close.
It was close.
And I can tell you, as someone who was staring down the milliseconds on the shot clock to see what happened, I do not know that he got it off in time. But here's the thing. Taps are really deceiving because when his wrist was still flicking, he could have already ceased making contact. I think they're going to give him the bucket.
So George Mason, the bench celebrates, and the maybe 20-so-odd fans behind the bench will celebrate. It's a made bucket with 24.3 seconds to play. 60-58 is the George Mason advantage. And Kris, it's been a true battle down the stretch here between the Fordham Rams, but it all comes down to this. 24.3 seconds to play. Fordham trails by 2, 60-58. Got We Will Rock You behind me. Rose Hill is ready. This is the shot, Kris.
Miles, you can go for a three and win the game, but if I'm Fordham, I don't test my luck. You've already had such auspicious three-point shooting tonight. Unless you get a hot hand, easy two.
Rose inbounds to Charlton, and Antrell Charlton will walk it up, and Keith Thurgo wants the timeout. 18.7 seconds to play in regulation. The Fordham Rams trail by a deuce, 60-58. And, of course, now both sides will head to their respective huddles. Josh Rivera will check in at the next possession. But, of course, 18.7 seconds to play. The shot clock is dead. And this is the shot, Kris. You need a bucket here.
And, Miles, if you can get it, too, and send it to overtime, which is what I think they should do. You're lucky that they don't have Ronald Polite III today. The last time these two teams matched up, it was March 1st of last year. Polite had 8 of his 12 points that day, all in overtime to beat the Rams. So now the Patriots, without Polite, might head to another overtime period against Fordham, but they won't have their leading guy. They will have to lean on Maddox and Hall.
And that's a theme that we probably haven't discussed enough. The point guard of this team, the leader in assists, has 75 on the year. Ronald Polite is out with an ankle injury, and that's why Baraka Okoji, the freshman guard, has walked it up nearly every offensive possession of the Patriots. But in these late-game situations when you're missing your senior assist leader, it's a big difference for a guy like freshman Okoji to have to be out there.
It's been Kyle Rose today hounding and harassing Baraka Okoji. You can imagine what if Okoji was the one doing that to Medor and Richardson off the bench, and Rose had to guard probably Maddox as Charlton took care of Polite. Now it's a different situation. George Mason's got a big 5 on the floor. Kelly and Hall, 6'7" and 6'9", shoring up the rim protection. Fordham's going to attack. See if they can.
It's the far sideline inbound. Rose into Charlton. 60-58 is the Mason lead. 13 seconds to play. Here's Josh Rivera, the handoff for Rose. Rose pops the 3, and he's no good. Off the wedgie on the left side. It's a battle down low for the board. Jared Billups comes up with it, and they'll say out of bounds, or pardon me, jump ball in there. And the possession arrow will stay here with the Fordham Rams. Jared Billups got in there with the Fordham Rams. But the possession arrow keeps it here for Fordham, trailing by 2 with 6.1. Antrell Charlton will be the trigger man under the basket. 6.1 seconds to play. The Fordham Rams trail by 2. Kyle Rose catch and shoot 3, and he got it. 3.9 seconds to play. It's a 61-60 lead. Fordham on top, and Rose, the most tenured veteran Ram in the history of the program with a big bucket.
A lucky break for Fordham, Miles. No two ways about it. You take a look at the first possession. They've got just a couple of seconds on the clock to change the story of this game, and they do not do it. Kyle Rose misses the three, and arguably the Rams committed a loose ball foul. But here's the thing. It was a jump ball before any other whistle was blown. The possession arrow, really luckily for Fordham, was going their way, and they got one more shot at it. 6.1 seconds on the clock. The ball was for Will Richardson at the top of the key. He couldn't shake Baraka Okoji loose, so there was Kyle Rose on the left wing. He takes the ball and doesn't hesitate for a second. He just shoots it.
So our referees at the far sideline reviewing the clock, it seems, at the moment. They'll say 3.9 seconds is correct. 61-60. The Fordham advantage. They'll say 4.0 flat. They add a tenth of a second here from Rose Hill. But George Mason will have to go the distance of the court here. 4 seconds to play. It's a 1-point lead for the Fordham Rams. And now they want another timeout. Keith Ergo will head to the huddle. And now all it takes, Chris, they got the shot. But with 4 seconds, they need one stop.
Well, Miles, that was the Rams' last timeout. So they were going to use it or lose it, and like they like to do in the first half, they used it. Let's talk about do's and don'ts here for the Fordham Rams. Do, stay quick on your feet. You may be the person tasked with saving this game, even if it's not your man that you've got to run to. Quick on your feet, no leaning back on those heels. Every Ram needs to be on the front of their hooves. Now, the don'ts of this play, be silly and foul. They cannot afford to foul. If the Fordham Rams foul, George Mason's in the double bonus. I assure you they make both of those free throws and take this one home with them to Virginia. If you're the Fordham Rams, you've got to keep your hands up in the air, behind you like you're playing defense on James Harden. I don't care what it takes, but you cannot foul. It's the only cardinal sin here. Late game scenario, double bonus for George Mason. Neither team has a single timeout left. It's 4 seconds of straight up hoops here in Rose Hill to decide a big one in the A-10. George Mason, 7-7. Fordham, well, they're 5-9 and in the hunt. What happens, Miles? Let's see.
4 seconds to play, 61-60. As you said, Chris, is the Fordham advantage. No timeouts left for either squad. Now the Patriots and their road blacks got to go the distance. The full 94 feet in 4 seconds. But of course, Chris, they are in the double bonus. So Mason looking to be aggressive, maybe draw some contact to the full court pressure here for the Fordham Rams. Okoji, dribble drive, the heave over the basket, and that's going to do it. 61-60, Fordham pulls out the win. Kyle Rose, a big bucket with 3.9 seconds to play. He was silent in the first half, 0 of 6 from the field. But Kyle Rose, the longest tenured Ram in the history of the program, picks up a veteran moment from the left arc, and the Fordham Rams will take it 61-60.
Well, Miles, the Fordham Rams needed a bucket, and they did not get it. They just didn't. And they almost lost it completely when they almost fouled after. But they secure the jump ball. The possession arrow is theirs. It's one shot to save the game and arguably the season, and Kyle rose to the occasion.
Kyle rose to the occasion. I love it. We're now going to be joined by Associate Head Coach Trey Woodall. Coach, can you hear us all right?
Yep, you can turn me up a little more.
Congrats on the win, Coach. A big moment. Yep. Kyle Rose, I mean, the guy's been a Fordham Ram for what feels like forever, the longest tenured Ram in program history. But today, the veteran able to get it done on the offensive side. And this year's been the year of the Kyle Rose offensive performance. Just what'd you see out of him in the second half, particularly coming off a slow first half?
Well, to be honest, his whole mentality, just like the rest of our team, was trying to get stops and just do what we do. I think in the first half, I think he had 0 points in the first half. Not one thing about
0 for 6.
Yeah, so he, he's locked in on defense, and we just talked about it at halftime. Like, you just keep your focus, and shots will start to fall just because you're about the right stuff.
Coach, we're seeing the emergence of a fellow New Jerseyan here throughout the season. Will Richardson, second on the team in scoring, first on the team in double-digit scoring performances, and today he comes off the bench, plays 29 minutes, and gives the team a really important 10 points and 2 assists. What's it been like working with him throughout the course of this year and seeing it correlate into these performances?
Well, minutes as of late been up and down with Will, but we completely talk about just staying the course and then focus on each possession and being a guy that goes out there and play as hard as he can for as long as he can. Tonight it was just a result of him just digging in on defense, and I thought he did a terrific job, and as well as everyone else did.
And, Coach, back-to-back wins in Atlantic 10 play for the first time this year, and it comes in a really pivotal stretch. What's going to be the message to the team to stay hot heading into a couple tough road games in St. Joe's and UMass?
The goal is always to be the best team you can be by the end of the year. Nothing changes. We're excited about the win. Give Coach Skin and Mason a ton of credit. Those guys play hard. They got a bunch of talented guys. We were just able to come out with the win tonight.
Coach, Mason came into tonight 17-3 on the season when they out-rebound their opponent.
Yep.
They had 9 more rebounds than you guys, but they're now 17-4 in those scenarios.
Yep.
How'd you make that happen?
I don't know. We just don't play the statistics. We try to play as hard as we can, and be the best team we can be by the end of the year. But we were able to come away with one, and we were one step closer to being the team that we want to be.
Coach, congratulations, and thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That's Trey Woodall, the associate head coach of the Fordham Rams. But, Chris, what a victory it was. Kyle Rose was silent in the first half, but he ends up with 16 points all in the second half, and the Fordham Rams pull out a low-scoring offensive affair, 61-60. And, Chris, just your initial thoughts.
Well, Miles, to take a look at the stat sheet one last time, Kyle Rose started 0 of 4 from three-point land. He ended up finishing the game 4 of 7, making him 4 of 11 on the contest. That's leadership. You know what word comes to my mind, Miles? 0 points in the first half, 0 of 4 star from downtown. You got to have attitude to turn that kind of game around. That's this team's motto. It comes from Villanova's Jay Wright. It's what they said in the huddle before going out and hitting that great game winner. And it's what these Fordham Rams say before they break every huddle. Attitude on 3. 1, 2, 3. Attitude. And the whole team says it because that's their mantra. That's who they are. 19-18. Your first half score. 61-60. The Fordham Rams win.
And the Fordham Rams now move to 12-16 on the year, 6-9 in Atlantic 10 play. Chris, they pick up back-to-back W's for the first time since mid-December. And don't look now, but these Rams getting hot at the right time. On the other side, a very solid George Mason squad falls to 18-10 on the year, 7-8 in the Atlantic 10. And of course, the Fordham Rams still at the 12 seed, a little bit outside of that single bye. But Fordham getting hot at the right time. Chris, it's been a pleasure. Our on-site producer, Joe Henry, he's been Kris Pursiainen. I've been Miles Grossman, saying so long and thank you for sticking with us. But with that, we're going to send it back across the street to our Rose Hill studios for the post-game show with Owen Kelty and Zach Cordova.
The one-on-one post-game report.
Welcome back into the Rose Hill Studios. I'm Owen Kelty, joined by Zach Cordova. And after an electric second half, Fordham wins this one 61-60. An absolute insane ending to the game. A missed Fordham 3. They get on the loose ball. They force the jump ball. And then Kyle Rose drains the game-winning 3. And this game looked like it was over in the second half. They go down 14 points. And now they come back and hit the game winner. I mean, what a win.
I mean, Kyle Rose to at first missing that game-winning shot and then coming back and taking the shot again. No hesitation. He's been knocked down from that corner all season. I mean, the shot doesn't get bigger like that. The shot doesn't get bigger than that in a bigger moment. I mean, I don't think if there's anyone else on this team I'd rather have take that shot.
I mean, that was an absolute insane ending to the game. I mean, it's going down 14 points. You really thought maybe this game was going to be over. Fordham went around the last 2 minutes of that game not scoring a point, but we talked about at the halftime, we thought they should shy away from the three-pointers. They did the exact opposite, and it got them back in this game, and it eventually won them the game.
I mean, the exact opposite to the fullest extent. I mean, 10 of their 12 made shots in the second half all threes. The only other shots that weren't threes was a layup by Kyle Rose and a dunk by Josh Rivera. That's it. 10 for 17 from the three-point line in the second half. 9 for 12 from the charity stripe. I mean, that's another stat I love to see. This Fordham team's kind of struggled, especially early on, shooting from the line. 9 for 12, good number. And also, I mean, just the three-point barrage that came in the second half is just unreal. I mean, absolute green light for everybody tonight. Even after struggling in the first half, they just figured it out. They dialed it in.
It seemed like in the second half, every single player on the team just unlocked the Hall of Fame shooter badge. Everyone had the ultimate green light, as you said. In that first half, they shot 15% from three. In the second half, they shoot 58.8%. What a turnaround from three. And you mentioned the free throws. All season, Fordham's kind of struggled from the free throw line. They go 2 of 2 in the first half. Same with George Mason. But in the second half, it seemed more was being called. Chris and Miles were talking about the announcing, or the refs getting a little ticky-tacky calls towards the end of the game. Both teams finish. Fordham finishes with 9 of 12. George Mason finishes 9 of 13. But despite a couple calls not going their way, you love to see Fordham battle through that and be able to come out with the win.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we were talking at half about the turnovers and the steals by Fordham. Fordham had 15 fast break points. We mentioned the fast breaks at half. I mean, they definitely just had a little bit more, kind of like that grit, like that we missed from last year at that Rose Thrill kind of grit. I mean, I know Miles mentioned it, maybe 20 people in the crowd. I mean, if there was a time to storm the court, I mean, maybe all 20 people.
The crowd got going though. The small amount of students that were there. It sounded a lot better, but they really got going in the second half. So
definitely,
you really love to see that. But,
always.
Just like the second half, the scoring was absurdly different. You looked at a 19-18 game there in the first half. That is not a college basketball score. That really catches you off guard. But in the second half, Fordham outscores George Mason 43-41. A much different second half offensively. Kind of what'd you see from the team that both of them kind of got away from defense, or was it just better shot making?
I mean, Fordham just got hot from three. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, to shoot 10 for 17 from three-point land is, I mean, that's crazy. I mean, but it's like we said before. I mean, Fordham is a live by the three, die by the three team, and they couldn't dial it in the first half, and then second half something changed at halftime, and everybody, maybe they drank Michael's secret stuff like in Space Jam, and everybody just suddenly got that Steph Curry range and was just launching it. But, I mean, it's just a big turnaround in terms of shooting. Everyone finally got warmed up, it seems like, and it just started falling.
And they finished on the game 40% from three, but 32% from the field. I mean, as Chris mentioned, that's some Alec Burks basketball there where you're averaging more from the three-point line than from the field. Everyone seemed to be struggling from inside the paint, and I guess they just abandoned that and said, hey, we're going to go out there. I mean, once you go down by 14 points there in that second half, you were really going to need to get something going. Yeah. And you're really, from how you've shot all game, the only way they were going to get back in this game was the three-point ball. They went 7 of 8 at one point to come back and, I believe, bring the game within 3. And then from there, it just felt like Fordham grit basketball that kept it close and in the end got them the win.
Yeah, I mean, and even we talked about maybe the defensive end wasn't as great in the second half, but Abdou Stambila still finished with 4 blocks. I mean, that's another game where he's had over 4 blocks. I mean, last game he had 6. He's just tallying it up each game. He protects the paint unlike anyone else. But Kyle Rose, 0 points at half, 0 for 4 from 3, 0 for 6 from the field. And second half is just a new person. 16 points and knocks down 4 threes, and as well with the biggest shot of the game too. I mean, that's bouncing back in a whole new way.
I mean, he was definitely the big change in the second half. You saw how the team was struggling to score, and all season the offense has gone through him. Not a lot of other guys had a great second half. Ramad Deed finishes with 10 points. Will Richardson also 10 points. They were the other 2 leading scorers, but Kyle Rose had his hands all over the second half, and that was really what led them to the win. Also, shout out Abdou Stambila finishing the game with 9 rebounds, 4 blocks, was just going off on the offense and defensive end. But that is going to do it for us here in the Rose Hill Studios. Once again, the final score was 61-60. Fordham wins this one on an amazing Kyle Rose game winner. Huge thanks to Kurt Sapel on highlights, Isabella Terracini engineer. And behind the glass, we had Will Talent. Bobby Chaffardini is the sports director of WFUV Sports. And for Zach Cordova, I'm Owen Kelty. Have a great night, everyone. Fordham Basketball is a production of WFUV Sports.